Film review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on the Film Review Live channel. Subscribe.
Hi, this is Bernadette Stannis, Thelma from Good Times, and you're watching the Film Review.
What's going on, people? This is episode 116 of the Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast. We are your husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
I'm Tracy.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society.
Yes.
And do we have a great show for you today? Let me bring this over into the center so people can see what we're talking about here. We have none other than MC Chill, the first Big MC from the CLE. We have him as our special guest today, and we're going to be running down the whole story, right? This is going to be the most extensive interview put down about MC Chill. But first, before we get started, we're going to let you know who MC Chill is today, in his own words. So we're going to go like this. We'll be right back.
Do y'all know what it's like to be MC Chill? From darkness to light, you got to fight to be chill. When I get all hyped, they be like, MC, chill. But if you write about Cleveland, it ain't right without chill. Because if you count all them times that I spit rhymes, at the mics, the stage is all the crowds that was mine, plus the 360 degree, my third eye shines, and all them girls that said I was fine, it's a lot. But not as much as how hard I grind for Cleveland. See, that's the common denominator. Some call me an innovator, but I prefer elevator, because I raised y'all to be better than this, the best of me. And I've been nice on the mic from Kid Finesse to that Kid Mescity. That's MC Chill. I'm both cool and the gang. I'm the man like Sam when it was snakes on the plane. And since we keeping it plain, I win well, I been tight. I flip the script and the plane like Denzel in mid-flight. See, I ain't a rapper. I'm an MC. But if that's how you feel, though, take off the MC and the CH. And I'm still ill with them skills, yo. See, I drop heat to the best of these mixed beats. And I drop bars like I was dropping West 6th Street. Man, give me a sword, a stone, and a beat-up microphone. I'm nice from the dome like some iced-up Patron. You know who this is the first time that you hear it. I drop that old school cool, like I reverse engineered it. I got complex concepts, so accept the inevitable. Except I expect I to be damn near incredible. Dropping fat hits and brackets, dialogue parentheticals. Y'all better hope they keep Obamacare, cause suckers gonna need some medical. I got 7 deadly venoms, 5 fingers of death. Man, y'all couldn't see MC Chill if I was the last MC left. I used to teach on a beach that used to be Atlantis. Studied with the masters, prayed with the mantis. They can't stand this advancedness, but they can take their chances. Cause I got more hustle than disco dances. So talk to me nicely, all breezy and icy. Cause if it get dicey, I flip the script like I was pissed off at Spike Lee. Precisely. Somebody come mic me. Oh, we cool and all, but ain't nobody like me. Talk to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Hurd, known to the hip hop community as MC Chill, first burst on the scene at Kent State University as a member of the Bomb Squad, a hip hop crew consisting of 2 DJs, DJ Finesse and a Cleveland favorite from Italy, Cochise, and 3 MCs, the late great Wayne G, the Mellow Iced Tea female MC, and rounding out the crew with Flows himself, MC Chill. Breaking solo in the early 80s, by 85, Chill had signed a regional deal, but a chance meeting with a New York radio heavyweight would find Chill signed to Fever Records, with his self-titled LP dropping in January 1986. From hip-hop to journalism, Chill has seen theatrical stages, helped shape music culture, been able to capture stories from a unique insider to outside point of view, became influential in organizations like Kappa Alpha Psi, Greater Cleveland Association of Black Journalists, National Association of Black Journalists, African American Film Critics Association, AFCA. He co-founded AFCA. Also, Press Club of Cleveland, with multiple honors and awards to his name. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we welcome to the film review, to hashtag TFR Podcast Live, Kevin MC Chill Heard. How you doing, Chill?
Wow. What's going on? Talk to me. That was nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You know, we got to put it in. We got to put it in for you. You know, you are hip hop royalty here, right? This is my wife Tracy.
How
this
are
is MC
you?
Chill. This
How
is
you
first
doing,
time
Queen
meeting.
Tracy? Hi, Queen Tracy.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Let's bring this up so I make this clear. There we go. Move you over right in the center. Okay, now we're ready to begin. First of all, how's your week been, Chill?
It's been good, man. You know, we've been doing a lot of things. I've done some good interviews over the last week, and thanks to you for jumping in there and helping me hold some of those down. But it's been good to be around the house with the family. You know, we're doing the best we can under the circumstances and under the virus and all what's going on in the world with the civil unrest. But you know, we're all in here in the house and being a family and loving each other.
Okay, so we always ask people, you know, different people from different places. Besides, we know what happened in the media earlier this week in Cleveland, but how is Cleveland sustaining? How's Cleveland, Ohio sustaining during the COVID-19 quarantine?
Well, you know, lots of people are handling it different ways. I see some people practicing social distancing. I see some people not, and I worry about those people, to tell the truth. And I do the best I can to kind of spread the word that despite holidays or good weather or protest or civil unrest, this virus is still out here. So, you know, be as healthy as you can and let's do what we have to do. So That's how we doing it around here.
Okay, so let's get to it because you are the man of the 2 hours.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Wow.
It's an honor to have you on our show.
It's an honor to be on the show.
Okay, so let's get started here. Because MC Chill, Kevin Heard, this is your life. On hashtag TFR Podcast Live. Okay, here we go. Born atop a store on Cedar. You grew up on 93rd and St. Clair before your family moved to Lee Harvard residential area when you were 6. What was Lee Harvard like coming up?
Man, Lee Harvard, for a small black child, was amazing because it was filled with professionals, black people who you could see who owned businesses, who did professional jobs. We had, although to a small extent, not great big giant hospitals, but we had like storefront doctors. We had dentists. We had lawyers. We could see people, black people, brothers and sisters doing those jobs. And a lot of the educators that taught us in schools lived in our area. We even had black principals of our schools. So, you know, to grow up in that type of environment, I can already see that it shaped the blackness in me. So we could rise to various levels that I previously hadn't seen. But it was a good place to be as a young black child growing up in Cleveland.
Yeah, so we have some video on that, you know, of what the southeast side, Lee Harvard area was like and how it came to be. So we're going to play this real quick. We'll be right back.
Even though these are small numbers of homes, they're very significant in terms of community pride, in terms of employing black building tradesmen. And Arthur Bussey is the focus of the Cleveland Restoration Society's efforts to get historic landmark designation for 2 streets in the Lee Harvard area. He built housing on Myrtle and Highview Avenues and advertised in the Call and Post. You can see these brand new brick bungalows being advertised here at $17,500. These were on the pricier end of the housing market this time. And so in 1959, we had Myrtle Avenue be completed here. You can see that the sewers have been newly installed. In fact, Bussey himself put up the money to finance the sewers for that street.
As we go along here, so pretty much it's a fun fact about Lee Harvard. From 1949 through the 1960s, Arthur Bussey, an African-American builder, built the homes we see in Lee Harvard today, and he targeted high-end, higher income blacks to move into Lee Harvard. So this is what we were seeing, coming up in Lee and Harvard, like you said, because I'm a Lee and Harvard native myself. So this is what we were seeing, and this is the back. Now here's another fun fact, right? I already played the video. Okay. Your father helped many black business owners get loans. Talk about that for a little bit.
My dad graduated from HBCU, Central State University, as did my mom, where they met and got married. But he had a business degree, and so he got a job at a business company, a finance company, downtown Cleveland, and was later tagged to be manager, one of the first black managers of a national loan finance company. It was Beneficial Finance, and certainly he was the first African American to be a manager of the loan company in Cleveland, and maybe one of the first in the nation. So, and he was operating out of right off Harvard, right almost across the street, not far from where John F. Kennedy High School is located currently in its last days. But and as the manager of Beneficial Finance, he helped a lot of black businesses get loans to start. And I meet people still today to be like, yeah, your dad, I was able to start my business because your dad gave me a loan, which, a lot of people wouldn't give black people back in those days. So yeah, he was able to help start some of those up and coming businesses in the Lee Harvard area.
Mm-hmm. And then your mother was a school teacher. Talk about that.
Yeah, graduating with a degree in education. She came to Cleveland, and she instantly got a job teaching at Bolton Elementary. She taught at both the old Bolton and what they call the new Bolton. So she taught at Bolton Elementary School her entire teaching career, and retired from teaching at Bolton Elementary School. And people around Cleveland know that's over in that Quincy, Quebec area, over not far from the historic Caramoo Theater or Olivet Institutional Baptist Church. Just to let you know where the area of Bolton was.
Mm-hmm. And then
still is.
So education was definitely stressed in your household. Oh yeah.
And because my mother was brutal on lessons and English and punctuations, and all of my friends tell about my mother telling them about helping words, and would laugh to say, well, those are the words that are trying to help us say what we're trying to talk about. But yeah, and then my father actually, while an adult with the family, worked his way through law school. He took night classes at Cleveland Marshall Law School, and he graduated with a law degree around the same time that I was graduating from middle school, from junior high school at Whitney Young. So I was able to see my father even work his way to a law degree. And my dad is from Miami, Florida, not a upper or middle class area. He's from the area of Miami, Florida called Opelika. So people know that is around the Uptown or Liberty City, that area. So, that was the area where not a lot of brothers were even going to college, much less getting law degrees. So big ups to my dad, rest in peace. And it was good to see a black man doing something like that.
Mm-hmm. So did your parents instill into you a strong spiritual background, like church every Sunday, church on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, sometimes on Friday and Saturday, back to Sunday? Because we hear the influence in your music and some of your lyrics.
Well, I think what you hear in some of my music and my lyrics is more of what was to become a universal spirituality, more of a Afrocentric understanding and belonging. Although we did go to church, it wasn't one of those deals where we were there every single day. As a matter of fact, I laugh whenever I see the pastor, the current pastor of Lee Road Baptist Church, and I've actually spoken at the church there before for different events with Jack and Jill or Black History Month or something like that. And every time that I hear that it's going to be something at Lee Road Baptist Church, I say, well, I got kicked out of that church. Me and my cousins, they threw us out. And I saw the pastor one time and I said, now, Pastor, I'll let you know that they threw me out of Lee Road Baptist Church. He was like, oh my God, when was this? So I was maybe like 9 years old, and they told me and my cousins never to come back. And so he said, okay, brother, you can come back now. So I said, well, it's not official till I call my cousin, Craig and Ellis, and tell them that we back, that we're allowed back in the Lee Road Baptist Church. But yeah, no, my parents, we initially went to Antioch Baptist Church, and then later on Olivet Church. But like I said, there were always books in the house, and it was more of a Afrocentric spirituality that kind of was all over my upbringing.
Okay. All right. So let's move forward just a little. Your cousin Keith Collins, who was 1 year older than you,
that's right,
first taught you martial arts, right? Then you would.
Well, we can call it teaching me.
What's that mean? He was just using you as a punching bag or a pillow or something?
He was officially. He even used the correct terminology. He used the Japanese terminology. He said, "Okay, we're gonna do karate, and you're gonna be what they call an uke." And uke or uke in Japanese, in martial arts term, pretty much translates to dummy, or the object or a person that you beat on. And so I was the uke. And so, yeah, that's how my cousin got me started in martial arts. So if you want to call teaching me just beating me down and flipping me and kicking and punching me, yeah, he got me started teaching me. Big ups to my cousin, Keith Collins.
So you started taking classes out in Chardon, Ohio, right? Karate classes. You started going where he was going, and you started your training, right? Did those?
Yeah, you know what? I started my official at a more of a lengthy time in Chardon, Ohio, with the Karate Institute, or part of the Karate Institute. But I did take other styles and other methods prior to going to Chardon. I took studied Kung Fu for a while under some students of Grandmaster Art Sykes. Studied a harder Japanese style Goju-Ryu. There was a teacher in Lee Harvard, and attended maybe Taekwondo for a while under what was to become Cleveland Academy. And I probably studied about 2 other places in Cleveland before I went out to Chardon, where my cousin was studying at.
Hmm. So, did these teachings teach you discipline, or was it when you got with Ken Ferguson that you were taught more discipline then?
No. All of those schools, for the most part, taught discipline. The first kung fu instructor that I studied with, it was a brother who was from a fine lineage of instructors, and this brother that taught Goju Ryu, I believe he might have studied overseas in Japan, and he was a tough brother, African American, army type guy, but he taught us discipline, respect for your opponent or any future opponent. So I learned discipline and respect with some of my earlier teachers in martial arts as a youngster.
But it was Ken that took you all the way through to getting the double black belt.
Made me a triple OG. Yeah. Ken Ferguson, it was an amazing experience, unlike anything I had done before. And Ken wasn't a teacher in the traditional sense of martial arts instructors, but certainly was the best martial arts instructor that I could have had. And he created an environment of excellence that he himself personified. Because when I met Ken, he was already on the United States karate team, and he was like the neighborhood Jim Kelly. He had the great big afro, and I roll up to and it was non-traditional in the sense that all those other times I actually was studying in a martial arts location, in a dojo. Ferguson taught at the rec center and for free. And to have somebody that was on the United States team, an international competitor and national champion to teach you at the recreation center, the John F. Kennedy Recreation Center, for free was amazing. And the students there were already encultured in an ideology of success and winning, and to always think that you were the best, and he expected you to be the best, and we held each other up to that standard. I met lifetime friends that are my brothers to this very day. I ended up bringing my cousin back over with us to Ferguson, and so I did him. I reciprocated the favor of him introducing me to martial arts, and then I brought him and reintroduced him into the world of Ken Ferguson and the students that were there, and both of us, we attained lifelong friendships of those people and with Ken Ferguson. It was an amazing experience.
So here's another fun fact about Lee Harvard. While Carl Stokes was mayor, while he was in office, Lee Harvard residents lobbied in Columbus to keep liquor licenses out of Lee and Harvard, right? Also, they fought Mayor Stokes to keep public housing out of Lee and Harvard. Stokes called Lee and Harvard residents black bigots. They were worried about keeping the middle class lifestyle. They didn't want to lose that. So they fought tooth and nail, and that was something that was an embarrassment to Carl Stokes' mayorship at the time. So, but he called them black bigots. Can you see that, Chill? Can you see where?
No, and that's
black bigots.
Yeah, I'd like to get some more information on that. And for the longest, our voting ward, our council ward in Cleveland, Ward 1, has consistently been the largest voting ward of all of certainly of all the African American neighborhoods. We've maintained that since the very beginning. And interestingly enough, the person who kind of orchestrated Carl Stokes' claim to fame as a black politician and a historical candidate becoming mayor was the late great Arnold Pinckney, who was the architect. he was the power man behind the scenes. He was the kingmaker. He was a Lee Harvard resident, and certainly he was Carl Stokes' #1 counsel who created that machine, that black political machine. And Arnold Pinckney was a neighbor of mine, and for years I would tell him on my way to high school, we would have to pass his house, and I would borrow a newspaper, a plain dealer from off his front lawn on the way to school. And I didn't tell them this until I was an adult. And he said, you know what? I was wondering what happened to my paper every week. I was calling the plain dealer, swearing up and down they were not delivering my paper. So yeah, but that's interesting because that was the largest black voting block, one of the largest, if not the largest, on the southeast side, and certainly key to electing Carl Stokes as mayor. Now you do have to remember, it was white flight going on Lee Harvard in the early days, and when we moved there, it was still the last holdouts of people of European descent living in Lee Harvard, just hanging on tooth and nail to their property. But yeah, it was so that's an interesting thing. I'm gonna have to check into that, bro.
Yeah. Okay. So
bigots, huh? Black bigots. That's funny.
Black bigots. I said,
to check that.
Maybe black elite.
I'm gonna have to put my Lee Harvard people on the case on that one. We're not taking that one kindly.
Yeah.
From Brother Stokes, rest in peace, my good fraternity brother.
Back to MC Chill. This is your live on #TFRPODCASTLIVE. Everyone was used to R&B, soul, jazz, blues, gospel, and even reggae with Bob Marley. But hip-hop, which is an amalgamation of those early forms of music, was new. What was the first song that got you interested in hip-hop, and what about it caught your ear?
Well, obviously, the first song that got me interested in hip-hop was the first rap song that anyone out of New York ever heard, and that was Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight. I remember hearing it, and I thought that it was just somebody rhyming over Chic's Good Times, which we know is the foundation of Rapper's Delight. And I was like, oh my God, that's kind of cool that guy is just kind of saying it. I thought that was actually somebody doing it coming out of this area that I heard, until I realized that was something being played on the radio. And by the time I heard it, probably 3 days later, everybody heard it, and we were all scrambling to get tapes. And finally, I got a recording of it, memorized almost the entire, and that's a long song. Rapper's Delight in full, man, that might be about 8 minutes long or more. But I memorized the entire song enough to where I was ready to go out and perform Rapper's Delight. But soon after that, it was followed by like Curtis Blow and then Sequence. And at that point, I was into this new thing called rap, and then start meeting out of town people who were bringing more songs, early hip hop songs by like Spoonie G, Treacherous 3. For hip hop aficionados, a lot of the old Enjoy label, the Bobby Robinson label songs, but prior to them going over the Sugar Hill label. So by the time I got down with like the Spoonie G, which was one of Coach Cheese's, who would later become my first DJ. His roommate from Brooklyn was putting him on with Spoonie G, and so yeah, hearing some of those early songs, I was in, man.
Oh, Tanya Congress, who's watching. Matter of fact, let's say this real quick. We are simulcasting on Periscope, YouTube, and on a certain social media site that says they don't need advertisers, but Crazy on Dion page, And Tanya Congress on YouTube says, Chill, that the record was 15 minutes long.
15 minutes.
15
wow.
15 minutes.
And it was a journey. Hey, that was commitment to learn the words to that song all the way through.
Right. So here's a question for you. So let's go back, because that was 1979. 1973, Kool Herc was creating the foundations of hip hop, breaking records, taking the most funkiest parts and extending them out so people could dance to them. Grandmaster Flash mastered breaking beats. As it spread and reached Kent State University, why didn't you touch the turntables? And if you did, what made you veer more towards MCing?
Well, by that time, I was, friends and later fraternity brothers with DJ Cochise, and oftentimes would grab the mic when he was spinning. And then later on, as we formed the Bomb Squad, and I became friends with my other DJ, DJ Kid Finesse, who had come from Queens, Jamaica, Queens, New York, through Youngstown, who opened my eyes to the whole hip hop movement that was far above and beyond just a couple of rap records that I heard. And then Kid Finesse and I were roommates, and he was very serious about that craft. He was practicing, he was spinning morning, noon, night, cutting records behind his back, switching hand to hand, and it was amazing. So sure, I tinkered around with the turntables. First of all, you had to be a DJ. That was expensive. You needed some 1200s. You needed a fader. You needed speakers. You needed to go buy a bunch of records. MC, you needed a microphone. But I did learn the basics. Of course, I learned the basics of DJing, cutting records, spinning records. I even won at Kent State. I won a DJ contest. Now, I will say that like halfway through the contest of my DJ portion, say that we got to spin for 5 minutes. I probably was on the turntables for 3 minutes, and then I grabbed the microphone and rocked out rhyming for the following 2 minutes. So that I'm sure that swayed the crowd. But I won a DJ contest at Kent. Finesse tutored me and taught me, and I was able to win a DJ contest at Kent State University, even though I finished out rapping throughout the contest.
Okay. Well, see, there we go. See, now that's pulling back the layers of the onion.
I won $50. I won $50. We went out and bought some wild Irish rolls with that money and a couple of 40s.
Oh, that was during the years when 18-year-olds could drink, because they sure did change that by the time we came around. It was none of that for us. No, okay. In college. Yeah,
but they had at that time they had what they called 3-2 beer. You could, it was the beer that had less alcohol content, but we made our way to making sure we were able to get the kind of beer we needed. Okay. This is college. Kent State's a college town. You can make it happen.
Yeah. So DJ Lonnie B, let you rock on the mic at the Rathskeller. From there, you developed your own rhymes, becoming a member of the Bomb Squad, and let me turn the page.
You got that information, bro?
Huh? What, beg your pardon?
You got the information.
What
you have that information. You done did your research, kid.
I'm a researcher. Yes.
That's
let
right.
me say that again. Okay, so you became a member of the Bomb Squad, and the earthquake happened when DJ Cochise won the club style show DJ Battle, which ushered in hip hop to Cleveland, later affording you the opportunity to flow on WDMT FM. What was that like, and when did you know you'd arrived?
Man, that was amazing. When Cochise won the club style show at WDMT FM 108, the world changed. It was like a tsunami of hip hop occurring on a Cleveland level. I tell anybody, that is the day that hip hop in Cleveland became a community. That's when we had arrived at a hip hop community connected citywide. And Coach Cheese was no doubt the catalyst of that movement. But what ended up happening is what he won was he got a plaque and applause, and he was the king. But he also won a full club style show the following week. So as a member of the Bomb Squad, we came on with him as a full out crew the next week. And certainly because such a commotion had occurred during Cochise winning his club style show, everybody tuned in to hear his full show. And that's when he introduced the Bomb Squad. And so we showed up, myself, Cochise, Kid Finesse, MC Wayne G, and it was odd because one, nothing like that had ever happened on Cleveland radio, and they weren't even sure how to mic us. We certainly all couldn't fit in the DJ booth room. Mm-hmm. So they set up a microphone out in the hallway without any, no speaker. So we couldn't even really hear the record, because it's not, the radio station not built for that. The DJ has his headphones and he can hear the beat. So we hooked up a system where Coach Cheese would kind of nod his head and snap to the beat. One person had headphones on, and we all kind of caught the rhythm of that person without really hearing the music. You could hear it faintly, but we still rocked out, and we became instant celebrities. It's like we had records out from that point on. We became known citywide as the Bomb Squad, and my tagline was chill like 40 below. And I had it on the back of T-shirts. And Coach Cheese has told the story. We went to Randall Park Mall, and he had a shirt that said Coach Cheese, ooh to the beat. And I had a shirt that said Bomb Squad, chill like 40 below. And we went out to Randall Mall and got mobbed like we were, straight up recording celebrities. So Coach Cheese tells a story, that's when he knew that it was a big deal. And it was also, when I knew it was a big deal, when people knew us and asked us for autographs when we went out to Randall Park Mall.
Mm-hmm. And then Centipede just said, "What's up, Lord D and MC Chill?" He just shouted out to us.
My man Centipede from the mighty Supreme Team. Centipede, if he's listening, don't you ever act like your crew was better than the Bomb Squad. No, that's an inside joke between myself and Centipede.
And then MKM later, Master Kappa
Mixers for sure.
That's right. It's 1984. You're in college. You're rapping, and you should secure a regional record deal with Plum City Records, founded by the late great Jimmy Stevens.
Plum Place.
Plum Place. That's right. Plum Place.
Plum Place
Records. That's right. But your dude Red, who was known for being affiliated with the OJs, asked, "Who was in charge of the rap shit?" Is that right?
Yes. Well, this was prior to us signing with Jimmy Stevens, better known to old school people from his WABQ days as Jimmy Scorpio Stevens. Okay. Prior to that, while rocking with the band, Red was in a band at Kent State University with most notably McKinney. He played keyboards for the OJs and Levert, Niles McKinney, and Red played congas, and I think Kevin Conwell who later is Councilman Kevin Conwell, was also playing drums. But sometimes I would rock out with the band, which the band had really never seen a rapper just kind of rock with the band, and so Red, having that OJ's background from the Eddie Big Vert, as we call him, Big Vert, that camp, he was like, well, let's get into this thing, and certainly I remember the quote as him saying, well, who's in charge of this rap shit? Like it was like a club that, like we had a president or something. And I remember I was like, well, the best I can tell you is this dude that's really making stuff happening by the name of Russell Simmons right now. But this was at the very beginning of Def Jam, at the infancy of Def Jam. And we like looked up the number in the Black United Students office. This was before, you had cell phones and whatnot. I think we called the operator and got the number to Def Jam. And this is how early in the game it was. LL Cool J answered the phone at the Def Jam office. And so that began our process of getting a demo made, because they was like, well, get us a demo. And that led us to Jimmy Stevens.
So LL picked up the phone, but you spoke to Russ and Rick, right? And they told
we talked to Russell. We talked to LL because Red was like, okay, it's somebody answering the phone named Cool J. And I was like, LL, who had one record out at the time, I Need a Beat. LL had one record out, and I was familiar with the one record. And we talked to a couple people. We talked to Russell, and we talked to Tony Rome, and we talked to a couple of people over the Def Jam was small then. It wasn't, the juggernaut that it later became. But yeah, we ended up talking to Russell, and we ended up talking to Tony Rome for sure. I can't tell you if we talked to Rick or not. I know I didn't, but I remember talking to LL initially, and we talked to Russell, and we talked to Tony Rome.
So they said, get a demo. And you were like, get a demo? So the only guy you heard that was even close to a hip-hop sound was Mike Nice, Mike Chapman. And this is what you heard come over the airwaves in 83. So of course that's Project 5.
Project 5, Synergy.
By Synergy on Time Tracks Records. Produced by Mike Chapman and 3 other people, but an incredible groove. Everybody was listening to it in Cleveland. And then how did you and Red go about finding Mike Chapman?
Well, first of all, I like to give big ups too, because not only even on that Synergy cut, as I look at who were the writers of that song, obviously M. Chapman was Mike Chapman, but then there's a T. Thomas, which is Trent Thomas, who also was the other writer of my album. So it was a combination of Mike Chapman and Trent Thomas. A lot of those good chords and keys that you hear in a lot of those first MC Chill songs was Trent Thomas on keyboards. But so when we started looking for producers, and Red, of course, being from that background of the music machine of the OJs, he was like, okay, well, we need a producer. And there weren't hip hop producers like that even in the city, because this was still new. And so I knew that Mike Chapman was involved with production on that Synergy project. Wasn't quite hip hop, but he was the producer that I knew, and it was going to be close enough. So we tracked Mike Chapman down. At this point, he had just left to college. He was a freshman at Ohio State University. We didn't have a phone number. We didn't know where he lived. He didn't know who we were. We rented a car, drove to Columbus, rolled up at Ohio State, the Ohio State University, which, if anybody didn't there, the campus of Ohio State University is humongous. So imagine us rolling up with just a name. We're looking for Mike Chapman. Man, it's 1 billion people that go to Ohio State University. And finally, we narrowed it down. He was a freshman. There's like most of the freshmen live over in this building. The building was the freaking size of Terminal Tower, so it's humongous. And we were able to work our hand. So we got a little specific, light-skinned guy. He's from Shaker, you know, kind of little dude, quiet guy. Oh, okay, I think we know who he is. So we end up finding Mike Chapman, and he opens the door, sees us, and he recognizes me as a member of the Bomb Squad. He's like, oh, that's MC Chill from the Bomb Squad. And so we tell him that we're working on a project, because by now we had connected up with Jimmy Stevens. And so we told him we needed some tracks. And so he said, well, he had some tracks already with him that he had been working on. So he played about six songs for us that day in his dorm room at Ohio State. And probably 3 of those songs were already the tracks that would probably become MC Story, Prophecy, and maybe Children's Rhymes or something like that. But at least 3 of those songs that we heard that day became album songs on the MC Chill album.
Mm-hmm. So being the first MC doing hip hop, and you know, it started in New York and they had a head start, but what was studio recording like being first?
It was a little special. Because, you know, they had never, recording studios in Cleveland had never really had somebody coming to do rap records. So it was an issue of how to even do the levels and do the sound. And you know, we come in with a DJ scratching records. Mm-hmm. They never had a DJ scratching records in the studio before. So it was even an issue of how to connect the sound system to the turntables. And to top it off, we had a human beatbox. I have Beatmaster T with me. So that's another problem of how to connect the microphone and the sounds and the levels to a human beatboxer. So nevertheless, they hadn't done, you know, levels just for somebody rapping. They've done it for people singing. They've done it for musical instruments. But this hip hop thing in Cleveland at a full out professional studio was brand new. So we were the prototypes for people to later come to recording studios like 24 track, 48 track recording studios trying to make hip hop records. So it was different. It was a new experience for me. One, never been in a studio, and it was different for the studio itself trying to figure out how to deal with this whole thing that was this new shift, this paradigm that was to come that would later be called hip hop.
So then Mike Chapman started working at WDMT FM 108 and called you to let you know that Mr. Magic, radio personality and promoter of hip hop, was in Cleveland. So you rode with Mike to pick him up from the airport. And what happened next?
Super rockin' Mr. Magic. Mr. Magic pretty much created the rap radio format on the planet. He started at a college station, but later parlayed a gig at WBLS in New York City, one of the premier African-American radio stations. And hip hop, as far as radio station through New York, became like a thing under Mr. Magic. And Mr. Magic became so popular, everybody's duty, if you were a hip hop artist in New York, you tried to get Mr. Magic to play your tape. The group Houdini named themselves Houdini because of Mr. Magic. Magic, Houdini is a magician, so they named themselves Houdini because they were hooked up with Mr. Magic. And Mr. Magic also nickname is Sir Juice, which the Juice Crew, which later became, you know, a large conglomerate of hip hop artists, were that name, the Juice Crew, was in honor of Mr. Magic. And most people know his show, the Rap Attack, because his engineer and his DJ on the show was the legendary DJ Marley Marl. So Marley Marl was the DJ on the show on the Rap Attack, where Mr. Magic was the host. So yeah, Mike, who had been working up at 108 as an engineer and had done some of the most incredible master mixes. And I'm not talking about on turntables. I'm talking about actually cutting and splicing real tape. Reel to reel. Rip, cut, paste, bow. And he did some of the most incredible, legendary master mixes in that station. To watch somebody do master mixes that way, man, that was unbelievable. Anyway, we could get to that. But yeah, so Mike goes to pick up. He calls me up. He said, you want to go pick up Mr. Magic in the WDMT van? And I'm like, hell yeah. Sir Juice, Mr. Magic from the world famous Super Rockin' Mr. Magic's Rap Attack? You damn right. I'm in. So we pick up Mr. Magic, and he has with him Roxanne Shante, who had just come out. She's like 14 years old, and she had just come out. And with him at the time was my big, who later became my big bro, who is still my big bro, Tyrone Williams, who was worked with Mr. Magic, worked with him advertising the show and promoting hip hop. But later, that Tyrone Williams became Fly Ty, the owner and executive producer of Cold Chillin' Records, which is why we even know Big Daddy Kane and Shante end up being on Cold Chillin' Records and Cool G Rap. But that had yet to happen. But so Fly Ty, Tyrone Williams, Mr. Magic, and Roxanne Shante, we go pick them up. Mike Chapman throws in, because by now we were working on my demo, because I had actually signed the agreement with Jimmy Stevens Sr. For Plum Place for his regional deal. And Mr. Magic hears like the first song, which might have been Busta's Rhyme or Prophecy or Children's Rhymes or something like that. And he's like, because he's Mr. Magic. He's who hip hop comes through at this point in time. And he's like, who is this? Like, I never even heard this group. Who is this? And so Mike says, oh, that's Chill. He looks in the back of the van. He said, that's you, bro? I'm like, yeah. He was like, okay, you rap like that. I'm like, yeah. He said, how many songs on there? I said, probably about 4 or 5. He said, who produced it? So I point back up to Mike. And so he's in the front seat with Mike. And he looks over like, okay, I see what's going on here. We got the MC, we got the producer, the tape jumps in. All right, I get it. So then he asked the question, do you have a deal? Now, while the actual answer was yes, in my mind, I understood the gravity of the situation and what he was actually asking me. What he was actually asking me was, do you want a deal? Mm-hmm. And, I could have easily said, well, yeah, I have a regional deal, blah, 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 blah. But cut to the chase. He said, do you have a deal? I said, no. And that would be something that I would have to work out later on with Jimmy. But so he takes my tape back home with him. And I'll tell people now, when I watch, all things are connected. And this is a small world. And when I watched the Roxanne Shante movie on Netflix, I realized that all of the little things that I see her going through actually connects inevitably to me. When she's walking past her projects in Queens, the Queensbridge projects, and Molly Mall is yelling out the window, Shante, I want you to come back and do this recording for me. And she's saying, I got to go to the laundromat. I'm at home like watching it on TV. Like, girl, you better get your little ass back there and record that song. Because I realized if she don't go back and record that song, that MC Chill is living in a different world. And so in the movie, she gets in a van with Mr. Magic and Fly Ty, and they're saying they're going out to promote the song. And, as far as I know, they're getting in that van, going to the airport and landing in Cleveland, Ohio, where they meet me and Mike Chapman. So all things are, connected like that. And people need to recognize that whole butterfly effect. But so yeah, he calls me back.
Explain to people the butterfly effect so they have an understanding of what that is.
They call it the butterfly effect because it recognizes that the smallest thing can change the entire world. All things are connected. So the butterfly flapping his wings may seem like a very small thing, but it may push a speck of dirt or some air that moves a flower or changes the direction of an insect that bites a person, that makes him scratch, to go get something to solve the scratch. He meets a person at CVS who he connects with, and it just grows and grows and grows and grows. So I recognized that was part of my butterfly effect, whatever was the experience of Roxanne Shante. So about 2 weeks after we give Mr. Magic the tape, I'm in Washington, D.C. at a national conference with my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi. Big up to the Noops, yo Kappas. But anyway, I'm in D.C. and I get a call. This is prior to cell phones. I don't know how my mama found me, and because I'm over at Georgetown, getting it in and rocking the mic and partying, and somehow I get back to my hotel room and it's a message saying, "Hey, your mother said call you got to come home right now. You got a record deal." I'm like, "What?" So I called my mom. She's like, "Yeah, you got a record deal with Fever Records. Come home now." I had just gotten to DC. It was a 7-day convention. I'd been there for like 2 days, and took my ass back to Cleveland, and just and of course we had to deal with the contract that I had already signed. But Jimmy Stevens was really good about it. He was a really good dude. Rest in peace. He wasn't happy because he had his own idea of how he wanted to launch his new record label. He wanted to do it with a hip, because Jimmy had worked with all kinds of groups. As a matter of fact, he brought in, if for the people who may go back and hear some of my songs on Prophecy, it's this killer piano solo. And that's Kevin Kendricks from Cameo. And Kevin Kendricks came in the studio and laced a piano solo. And they were like, "Man, that was incredible. Can we do it one more time?" Man, he did it again, almost the exact same way. It was nuts. But, that was people that Jimmy brought in. And so Jimmy had his own ideas of what he wanted to do. And this wasn't it. But he understood this was a national deal. And he was gracious enough to acquiesce to me signing the deal with Fever Sutra Records, and he still maintained a executive producer role along with Sal Abatiello, owner of the Fever label, as well as the iconic club, the Fever. So yeah, but that's where it took off from.
Mm-hmm. So you already told how much. So for context, Crush Groove had just come out. And the whole movie was about trying to get to the Fever nightclub, the Disco Fever, to try to get a deal. And here you are, someone calls you on the phone, you say, and then you get back and they say, Fever Records, because you had fainted? What happened? What happened when you heard
first of all, the movie had not come out. They wrapped, but the movie hadn't come out yet after when I got to deal with Fever Records, the movie hadn't come out yet. It was just about to come out. But certainly I knew of the legendary South Bronx club Disco Fever, which people just, refer to as the Fever. The Fever was the preeminent hip hop club, they call it the first hip hop club of note in the South Bronx, obviously where hip hop was born. And it was one of the first clubs to let hip hop artists, DJs, MCs come from the parks to indoors and to the clubs. Now there were other clubs, hip hop clubs, but the Fever became the preeminent spot. Love Bug, Starsky, which became an artist who was famous in the parks. He was famous for rapping and DJing, often at the same time, and had the anthem on Fever Records, Live at the Fever. But so I certainly knew the history of the Fever and the label Fever Records. And the funny thing to me is when the movie came out, I'd already been signed to Fever Records, and the entire roster of Fever Records was in the movie Crush Groove. Everybody, even people who only had one record on Fever Records. The bouncer was in the movie, Mandingo, who was at the door, the DJs, all the talent. I was the only artist on Fever Records that wasn't in the movie. But I went to see the movie. Me and Kid Finesse went to see it at Kent State. And certainly I knew half of the people. But yeah, the movie, the Fat Boys spent the whole movie trying to get into the Fever to get a record deal. And Run DMC spent half of their time at the Fever. Russell trying to get Run DMC's, his brother's record played at the Fever, because the word around New York was your record is never going to be a hit if it doesn't hit at the Fever. So the Fever was very influential in hip hop.
So let's give this a little context here. Let's hear from the man himself.
Right, my next guest up tonight, as I said, is a special treat. He's known as one of the pioneers in Latin hip hop, freestyle, and rap. He's also the CEO of Fever Records and Fever Enterprises. Let's give him a late night welcome for Sal Abatello.
I noticed an upcoming, urban black young generation coming up after the Motown people that were discovering their own sound and their own place, here in New York. Mm-hmm. And I kept hearing people talking over the music. So we opened up this disco in the Bronx called Disco Fever in 1977, but it was an R&B club. Mm. And at the end of the night, this guy, Sweet G, would get up and he would do rhymes, nursery rhymes, and I was watching the audience's reaction. And he had complete control over the whole nightclub. If he told them to say ho, the whole place said ho, throw your hands up. I'm like, wow, how great is this that this guy is dictating and making the whole place feel as one person? Like all complete strangers now, or acting together, and they're interacting with, looking at each other and smiling and talking, and it made such a great atmosphere. So I approached him, I said, what is this? He says, oh, it's called, emceeing and rapping. And I said, well, where can I see this? So he said, let's, who's the biggest one? He said, Grandmaster Flash.
Beat them down.
Sal.
So that is giving a little context, right? So you travel to NYC to sign with Fever Records, the first MC from CLE to sign a major deal, and the first MC that was non-coastal to sign to Fever Records. What was New York City like at the time? The Bronx, and what was that feeling? Tell us that feeling, that nervous energy. What was that like?
First of all, I was probably the first non-Bronx person to sign with Fever Records. Not just, I don't know if they even had somebody not from the Bronx, much less not from New York or the East Coast or any coast. I might have been the first non-Bronx person to sign with Fever Records, because they had such a tie to the bedrock, to the foundation of the movement of the Bronx, which later became the hip hop movement. But I was excited. I was excited to go to New York to take on, because I wasn't a new MC by this time. I had rocked many rhymes, many stages, many parties. I was a couple years into this, so I wasn't a new MC. So it wasn't from the MCing part, but tackling New York, I knew was gonna be something different, not just for me, but for them. New York was really territorial at the time. They didn't play other people's records. They didn't rock to other people's records. You didn't go to New York and do shows from somewhere else. So I knew that was going to be a challenge. I didn't know how much, but what I was excited most of all was knowing, I already knew that I was going to be a part of hip hop history with the Fever. I could have signed with a larger label, a major label, but being associated with Fever Records put me right in the middle of the foundation of the culture that became hip hop. So I knew that was historical right then and there. And to going to New York and in Manhattan and signing the deal, and going to the Bronx and going to the Fever was two different things, because it was the people who produced and distributed the Fever label was Suture Records. Okay. And that was part of a larger conglomerate that was Buddha, the Gladys Knight and the Pips were on, the Sunnydale, Sunny View, which New Edition started out on. They even distributed the early Sugar Hill records. So it was a part of a larger, but it was a big Manhattan movement. And so going uptown, going to Manhattan and dealing with the record company, that was exciting. That was big time Manhattan, money-making Manhattan moves. But going to the South Bronx and going to the Fever, that was a whole different animal. You had to prove yourself. You had to prove that you had a love for hip hop, for the culture, for what it was. And of course, I went through the whole thing of, it was like I was an alien to those people in New York. I sounded funny. I talked different. I had a different mannerisms, because New York has a very distinct swag, the way they act, the way they talk, the way they dress. So I provided lots of entertainment by the way I spoke to people from New York and the other artists. But I think what they did understand was my love for hip hop, my love for the culture, and for the art of rapping. And I think that's what kind of ingratiated myself to that New York audience and the New York culture of hip hop.
Mm-hmm. So explain the question. Was Cleveland a street in the Bronx?
So, when you go to the Bronx, and I'm the new kid on the label, and you have all of these pioneers, like you just heard Sal talking about Sweet G. I just talked to Sweet G maybe about 2 weeks ago. Ironically, somebody that I knew, brother, was on the golf course in South Carolina, something like that, and said that they knew me and I was a rapper. And they're like, "Oh, this dude I'm with, like, is an OG rapper, Sweet G." And I guess Sweet G was like, "MC Chill," and we end up talking. But so you go there and you got a roster of like Sweet G, Lovebug, Starsky, Jiggalette, and all of these people coming through the Fever, Curtis Blow, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. A lot of these cats, like Flash and all them is Bronx cats. And so I come to the Fever. I guess it's automatically assumed that possibly I'm from the Bronx. And so when they say, "Where you from?" and I say Cleveland, they're looking like, "Is that a street in the Bronx? Like, where the hell is? What part of the Bronx? What part of the boogie down is that?" And I'm like, "No, Cleveland, Ohio." And they're like, "You kidding, right? You playing?" No, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. "Okay, that's where you were born, but what part of the Bronx do you live in?" No, I live in Cleveland, Ohio. I got on the plane from Cleveland. I flew here. I'm here from Cleveland. So that took a little getting used to, because that had really never happened. Never before had a distinct New York label signed a non-New Yorker. So it was, not just Fever, but any of those old classic labels. Most of those people were New York people, and so this was kind of something new. Now there were a few distinct anomalies, because like Sequence, technically, I think, which Angie Stone ended up being an original member of the group Sequence. That group, although they were a fixture in the Bronx and in the Fever, they were technically, I think, from South Carolina or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But prior, other than that, like an anomaly like that, they had really never seen a non-New Yorker kind of in the mix like that.
Mm-hmm. So you
never had seen somebody calling soda pop.
Because it's pop. It's not soda.
Right.
Baking
That's right.
soda.
Yeah,
Baking soda.
Don't,
pop is pop.
Yeah, you go to New York, talk about you want a pop. You got a whole problem of linguistics happening.
So you signed to Fever Records. You're recording your first album. You come to a song, MC Story, that has a 12-bar feature. Names are suggested, but one name makes your eyebrows go up. Who was that, and what happened when he arrived at the studio? Quad Recording Studios in particular.
Yeah, that's one of my greatest hip hop moments, and that's a story that I've told time and time again, and probably will be telling into my last days. But yeah, it was a collab spot available on MC Story. We had already we broke out with Busta's Rhyme, which came out big. It hit the Billboard charts, and so we had to determine what was going to be the follow-up song. And so it was decided that MC Story would be the follow-up song. And MC Story, and people have heard me, some people have heard me tell this, that song is always near and dear to my heart, because I kind of write my feelings about what it felt like to me at the time to be an MC, to what it meant for me to be an MC, or what I thought all MCs should feel about being an MC. And I even said at the beginning of the song, I wrote this story not just for me, but for all who long to become MCs, for those who know and who understand how good it feels with a mic in your hand. If you're down and you know it, you're not just a poet or just anybody there with a mic in your face. You're the heart of the street, a king of the beat, a slave to the rhythm that rocks the place. So it was a full out story about what I felt to be an MC. So and they weren't doing a lot of collabs at that time. So we kind of going over the connects that Sutra Fever has, and names came up, Roxanne Shante, because obviously that was the connect that even got the whole MC Chill thing going as a national artist. I might have brought up Run DMC, and they looking at me like, yeah, you kind of reaching on that one, kid. They were like the biggest group on the planet, and they like, yeah, we'll ask, but yeah, we don't think that's gonna happen for you. And we even talked about Curtis Blow for a minute, and I would have loved that, because Curtis Blow represented to me a pioneer of hip hop, and I would have been just as honored to have Curtis Blow on the song. And then I think Sal, either was Sal or I forgot the guy that was operating Suture Records at the time, but he might have brought up Melly Mel, and he kind of casually said it, and I'm like, whoa, hold on, wait, I can get Melly Mel, and they kind of look like, yeah, you can get Mel. Would you want Melly Mel? I mean, and the thought, I guess, was that, it was so many new school groups out, Run DMC, Houdini, Fat Boys. Fat Boys were label mates of mine on Suture Records, as well as Kid and Play was on Suture Records, but they weren't called Kid and Play at the time. That would be a later change of their names, Kid, Cool Out, and Playboy. And when they left Suture Records, they just shortened their names to Kid and Play, but they were called the Fresh Force Crew. But they were label mates of mine, and we interacted all the time, as well as I did with the Fat Boys. But so there was kind of, Mel was kind of old school, and we were talking about new school. And man, I hold Melly Mel in the highest regards. And of course now, they were the first group as a member of the Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. They were the first group inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But this was previous, obviously, to that. You know, the man who made the song The Message. And his lyrics in The Message and prior songs, Super Rapping, A Child is Born with No State of Mind, Blind to the Ways of Mankind, changed the whole trajectory of hip hop. Because prior to that, Cat's talking about, you know, going to parties and who got the most women and the flyest cars, and Mel breaks that. It changes the game. So I held Melly Mel in the highest regards of one of the greatest rhyme writers. I suggest anybody go back and watch Beat Street. And when he hits the stage with the second part of that Beat Street song, Beat Street Breakdown, and he hits those lyrics, newspaper burning in the sand, and the headline reads, "Man destroys man." I'm like, man, this cat is one of the greatest of all time. So they suggested that Melly Mel could be the person. And I was fine. I was delirious, ready to do a backflip. And then they say, but we don't want to pay Mel any record royalties. We're not doing with songwriters agreements. We're not messing with Mel about none of that. So you're going to have to write his lyrics. And I'm like, excuse me? Say that again. You're like, yeah, just go ahead. And I don't think they understood the code of the MC. And I don't think they were asking me to write. First of all, MCs don't write other MCs' lyrics. A real MC writes his own lyrics. And much less one of the greatest rhyme writers in the history of hip hop. How they asking me to write rhymes for the cat who wrote The Message? And I'm like, And they was like, no, we'll talk to Mel. We just gonna give him, you know, a stack of cash, and he'll be fine with it. And so I'm like, man. So needless to say, I stayed up nights trying to write out those bars for Melly Mel. I mean, it was a task. Now, don't get me wrong. I had confidence in myself as a rhyme writer, especially in the ideology, the style of Melly Mel. Mm-hmm. But, you know, something just didn't seem right about it. So obviously we hit the studio. Mel walks into Quad Studios for people. And I tell people Quad Studios later became famous because that's the studio that Tupac got shot at. One of those. He got shot a couple times, but one of those times. Mel walks in looking all like Melly Mel. And I'm like, oh my God, there's Melly Mel. And he walks in and he says, let me hear the track so I can write my rhymes. And I'm like, ugh. They didn't tell him.
They didn't tell him. Because he probably wouldn't have even came if they had told him that somebody else was writing this rhyme. So he had to wait until they got him in there, and it was almost like an ambush or something like that.
I would assume that there was no way that Mel was agreeing to let someone else write his rhymes, much less a dude who he never heard of, didn't know, a non-New Yorker, a kid from Cleveland writing rhymes for the greatest rhyme writer of our times. Yeah, I can say that he probably didn't know that. And so he said, let me hear the track so I can write my rhymes. And so Mike Chapman says, oh no, well, your rhymes are already written. Man, you should have seen the look on Mel's face. It was incredulous. Like, what was that you just said? He said, yes, your rhymes are already written. Oh, he thought that was funny as hell. He was with another person. I don't know who the other guy was, but they were cracking up. And so he says, who wrote my rhymes? And I'm sitting there looking like, man, could y'all let that man hear the track and give him a piece of paper and let him write his rhymes? And so Mike Chapman says, Chill wrote your rhymes. He looks at me. He gave me that N-word, please look. And I had the OMG, WFT, WTF look. And so he laughed.
So for the non-PG, for the non-G and the non-PG, what exactly did Mel say when he looked over at you? He said, like,
who in the fuck wrote my rhymes? and I did not raise my hand. and
Did
so Mike
something else
Chapman
come
said,
out like? Did something else come out like after they pointed at you and he said, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
he didn't say it, but that's how he looked at me.
Oh, okay.
And he
Okay.
laughed. He laughed. He laughed a good laugh. Him and his boy was cracking up. Like, are you out of your damn mind? Do you know who I am? And so Mike, man, I was mortified. And Mike Chapman, I call this the day Mike Chapman saved my life. Mike Chapman said, well, I'll tell you what. Let's listen to the track. Because my vocals my lyrics were already on the track. And so he said, let's listen to the track, listen to what Chill wrote for himself. And then you kind of, before we show you the lyric that he wrote for you. And they kind of like, yeah, whatever. And so they play the track. And, you know, they hear the lyrics. I hit some of the how the song starts. And, you know, and some of the lyrics, second verse, to be an MC is to beat the street, to think to the rhythm of a different beat. To be an MC is to be in love, let the star travel far with the rhymes above. To be the kings of rock like Run DMC, to have the power of Kumo D, to have the class of Jekyll and Hyde, to be pioneers like the Furious Five, to rule the world like Curtis Blow, your name in lights everywhere you go, to make the whole world a hip-hop believer, have your name on the board at the Disco Fever. Mel is looking like, okay. And we're in the studio, right? So anybody been in a recording studio, that's the best your song is ever going to sound. Because we're in the studio. And it's, you know, towering speakers, the crispest sound, the bass is booming. That's the best your song will ever sound in the studio. So Mel here's the in the studio version of MC Story. And his boy looks over at him and says, don't front, Mel. That shit was dope. And so Mel says, okay, let me see what you wrote for me. But it had a whole different tone to it. It had a respectful tone. Because before, it had a, you got to be kidding me. Let me see the bullshit that you wrote for me tone. Now it was like, okay, all right, let me see what you wrote for me. I pull out this yellow legal pad and I hand it to him. He looks at it and then he says, give me a pencil. And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking it's gonna work. I think he's gonna say this. He's gonna make some changes, but it's gonna happen. So he takes it and he's okay. He goes in the booth and he says the lyrics that I wrote word for word, except at the end. I wrote, and I go by Grandmaster Melly Mel, and he changed it to, and my code is Grandmaster Melly Mel. His change was to put the word code in there.
Mm-hmm.
CODE was the change that he made. And he was so hyped about the lyrics and the project and to hear the song, because he's hearing the hook. The girls are singing 1, 2, 3 in the place to be. Right or wrong, they will sing your song. You were sworn to be born the Supreme MC. He's with it. Then he says, okay, that's it. Let's do some more. And I'm looking like, what you mean let's do some more? He says, come in the booth with me and I'll say, ask me how did I get started? And then I'll say, I seen Hurt back in 76. And then I'm going to ask you, how'd you get in the record business? And you say whatever you wanted to say. And I end up saying, I just wanted to tell my story. And they said, and then we'll both do the rap hook, because the rap hook was creating a world which is made of words where a portion of our lives sometimes can't be heard. We're living in lyrics, looking for glory, and it all can be found in an MC story. So he was like, okay, we'll do that part. And I'll say, we're living in lyrics, like with that Melly Mel voice. And I say, looking for glory. And then we both say, and it all can be found in an MC story. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to go into the booth with Melly Mel. And so we go in, we knock it out. And he's like, is that it? Is it? I'm like, I think that's it, bro. And he was like, all right. He gave me a pound and a dap. And And he left. And I was like, man, this was in the books. Like, I don't care what happens after this. I got Melly Mel on a song with me. I don't care if it sells two copies.
I'm going to tell you that Gwen Jackson for the story gave four fists, 4 black fists up. Right? So,
Sister Gwen.
Could you say that you're the first ghostwriter?
Well, first of all, I would never claim that I ghost wrote for Melly Mel. I mean, it just sounds wrong for me to say that. It's not something that Mel asked me, certainly that he asked me to do, that we arranged. He thought it was ridiculous at the initial notion. So, I mean, I guess you could say that, but I have way too much respect for the process and for Mel to say I ghost wrote for him, because that sounds even crazy that Melly Mel would need a ghostwriter. So, I mean, if somebody else says that, I would still kind of push back on that because of the way that it sounds and the feel that it has to it. Technically, I guess that could be what it is, but you know, it was a situational thing that I'm just blessed that he agreed to and went along with. And I'm just happy that it worked out the way it did.
Mm-hmm. So you've written all the songs, recorded the songs, recorded and mixed and mastered the record. The single Bust This Rhyme drops on the airwaves in Cleveland in 1985.
Late 85.
The momentum is building, but an altercation at the Chic nightclub leaves you unconscious after being struck from behind and thought to be left for dead.
I was dead. And people said MC Chill was dead. People said, wow, that was quick. We finally got our first rapper out of Cleveland to go national. The song played for 2 weeks, like 20 times a day. And 2 weeks later, he's dead. I got in. And it's funny because what led up to it is I went to the Richfield Coliseum to see a wrestling match. Hulk Hogan versus Jesse the Body Ventura. And left the Coliseum, was trying to go home. My fraternity brother, roommate, like, let's stop at the Chic real quick. And I'm like, man, I'm kind of tired. I had been drinking a bunch of beers, watching the wrestling match. And I'm like, I really want to go home. So he said, well, let's just stop in the Chic for a hot second. I walk into the Chic, and it's like MC Chill, man. They like announced it. MC Chill's in the house. You know, I'm 2 weeks in to the first national rapper out of Cleveland. So it's like a big ruckus when I walk in, and people are buying me drinks, and it, you know, it's love in the club. And then somebody tells me, yo, your manager, Red, is downstairs, and it seems to be an altercation because they won't let him in. And so my idea is fine, because now I can get a ride home. Let me go tell Red. I go down there, and Red is like, you know, it's a commotion at the door with Red and some altercation. So I'm kind of like, okay, Red, you know what? I don't know what the altercation is, but just take me home. Because Red he looking at me like, Chill, what you doing here? This was nothing we had arranged. And so we step outside the club, and as soon as we step out the door, bam, guy hits Red in the head. Then the next thing I know, Red is catching it from like 5 people. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, like, okay, you know, so I'm ready to jump right in. And as soon as I step, it's like 5 more cats like, you don't want none of this. And, you know, later on the story became, you know, it was an MC Chill thing. It was an MC Chill altercation. But technically, those people at the time, it wasn't about me. I was just a dude trying to get involved in the fight. And it was later they realized that that's MC Chill. But so I'm like, okay, it's 5 dudes fighting Red. It's 5 dudes trying to stop me. So that's 10 of them, 2 of us. I could run in the club and come because I'm only in Harvard. I could come down with the family. And I'm like, man, by the time I go up there and have that discussion with all that loud music playing, man, Red would have taken a terrible beat down by then. So I made the decision just to directly get involved at that time. And my idea was if I could get him into an upright position, we could do what we needed to do and get in the car and get out. What I did know, in addition to those 10 people, it looked like it was a bunch of other people. And man, we was out there fighting for quite a while. And it was a nice little tussle. You know, I'm using the full out techniques of my training. I'm kicking, I'm biting, I'm elbowing, head butting. We on the ground, I'm back up. It was a nice little fight. Then after the fight was over, by the end of the party, we was fighting so long the party ended. People are coming out the party. I have a chipped tooth, and I'm like, "Hey, it was a fight. I just got through fighting about 20 people. What's up?" And they're like, "Damn, Chill, what happened?" So I'm telling the people about the fight. Fight's over, and somebody hits me in the back of the head. And at that point, I'm out of the game. My eyeballs roll up in my head. I fall out in front of the sheik. They drag me back in. Ambulance come. People like, "Oh, MC Chill is dead." They see me unconscious with my eyes in the back of my head. They take me to the hospital. I wake up like 5 days later with electric stuff attached to my head. No recollection of even being at the club. Last thing I remember, brain injury is a funny thing. Last thing I remember was being at the wrestling match. And I'm thinking, did I jump up in the ring and did I drink too many beers and jumped in the ring and Jesse Ventura power drove me or suplexed me on my head? Like, how the hell did I come from the wrestling match to the hospital? And so probably couple months later, my memory starts to come back. Then I remember the club and I remember the fight. And you know, I had some hearing loss in my ear and some other sensory loss with smell and taste. But I eventually, you know, made it back. Got most of my hearing back, most of my smell and taste back. But it was an experience, and people were happy to see me. Like, "Oh my God, Chill, I thought you was dead." They said my roommate stopped studying because they said if you stop studying during finals week, you get an automatic A. I'm like, man, you better tell his ass to crack them books open because I'm not dead. But yeah, so that was, it almost ended just as it begun.
Mm-hmm. So so was there even more of an urgency to make your self-titled album a success after you recovered? Did you suffer any pains from the attack which you feel while you were on stage?
No residual pain. I mean, other than the day that I woke up in the hospital with the most gigantic headache that you could imagine, sensitive to light. I mean, I was like complaining every day that they would open the curtains. I'm like, please close those back because the light was causing me like a crazy, enormous headache. The food was awful. I was complaining about the food every day, not realizing that I couldn't taste, that something had affected my sense of taste. So the food probably was fine. I just didn't realize it. And that didn't come back until a long time where everything I tasted like metal. And every sensory smell smelled like alcohol. Whether it be cologne or food, it all smelled like alcohol, and all food tasted like metal. So, and because of the hearing in the left ear, you know, it was a lot of times if somebody was saying something to me and they were on the left side of me, I would turn to the right because I'm only hearing it out of one side of my ear. So that was a little strange, but it affected recording processes because, you know, a lot of times I would record with one ear on the thing, and it was thrown off my balance of hearing. So it affected that a little bit, but no pain. Doctor said I had a subdural hematoma. It just told me to be careful about, you know, any further head injuries. But other than that, I kept rocking. It was back to the stage, back to the mic, and finish out, this process of these next singles and the next songs and the rest of my career and touring and doing shows. It was back to the grill again.
Mm-hmm. So how would you describe your performance style, and how would you describe the stage show that you perfected?
Oh my God! And I credit a lot of that to my manager, Red Turner. People know him now as Uncle Red, because Red, like I said, it comes from a musical background of being down with the OJs and a lot of other groups. And Red gives people the whole full rundown of him being a roadie and an assistant and with a lot of other R&B groups. So he drilled us as to rehearse the way you're gonna perform, and I also credit Sal at the Fever. It was like, chill, you got a lot of singing in your songs. The girls singing hooks. You should think about getting some girls to sing during the show. And so I started rolling with two girls. Now we had 3 altogether because occasionally one girl couldn't come or had, issues or family, or one girl, Sharon C., who's Cochisa's sister, was in ROTC. So we rolled with Sharon C., Tammy Tarleton, and Kelly Chapman, who was Mike Chapman's sister. And so, they would kind of rotate depending on where the show was at. But so we had like a dynamic stage show. I mean, it was a lot of people on stage that you really didn't see in rap shows back then, but it was organized. We had stage placement. So a lot of times the show was 2 background singers, the MC, my beatboxer, Beatmaster T, 2 male dancers, Teddy Ted, Spin Love, and that's a lot of people on stage for a solo artist. And but the show was a real professional looking show as far as blocking and I tell people, Jay-Z didn't start rocking tuxedos with sneakers on. And people see some of my early shows, I'm rocking tux with Reeboks. And so we dressed for shows a lot of the time. So it was a very visual show with a lot of stuff happening, singing, dancing, beatboxing, and him sing. So you got a full complement of entertainment watching an MC. I used to call it the greatest show on earth.
The greatest show on earth. So let's give an example to the people of the greatest show on earth right now.
The legendary sucker MC Destroyer. If you feel indicted, contact your lawyer, cause my aim is prosecution. The simple retribution and the charge is musical prostitution. Perpetrating pin pushers and MC peasants like the others, they will kneel before my presence. The ghost of the future, the present and past. Who knows how long my rap will last. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Teddy Ted. He's the dancer of the crew. He wants to rock it out a little bit just for you. Ladies and gentlemen, Teddy Ted.
So that's an example of the greatest show on earth, right? That's
man, you see me walking around the stage looking like Bing Crosby. All I needed was a drink in my hand.
That was the Ohio Breakers that you had on that show with you that day. And what was
Yeah,
the response of the audience? Because when he was doing that, I've never seen that before. Someone that could snake off the stage, roll, and come back up on the stage. I've never seen that done. So I know that the people who were from places that professed to be the best at pop ticking, breaking, I know they were shocked, especially with that handstand too. I know that was incredible.
Yeah, and what we didn't see in that clip was Spin Love doing one of the greatest head spins that you will ever see from anybody. So yeah, Teddy Ted was the regular dancer, and I met Ted. I was his camp counselor at an NFLPA camp, and he was an outstanding dancer through his entire life. And I told him if I ever got a record deal, that I would come back and get him as a dancer. And the same thing with Baby Break, who you saw do the worm, the snake off the stage. Now that one caught me by surprise. That wasn't rehearsed.
Okay.
And Red wasn't real happy about that one. Like that's not what we rehearsed. Like, oh, that didn't actually work out good for him. But
it looked good. It looked good.
I would meet Baby Break from the Ohio Breakers. I worked at May Company downtown, and during break, I would leave downtown, hook up with Baby Break somewhere down in the city, and then meet up with Red. Okay, I'll tell you this. This is an exclusive. This is what really happened. I would leave for lunch break from Macy's. I would see Baby Break. He would give me a joint. He'd give me a J. He'd give me a little spliffy, which I didn't smoke. I still don't smoke. But what I would do is I would hold on to it. Then I would go hook up with Red, who was working security at Woolworths downtown. So then I'd make the handoff to Red, and this was like almost every day. And so I told Baby Break, yo, when I get this deal, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna look for you. And so we end up getting the deal. I got Ted, I got Beatmaster T, I had the girls singing. And so along with Baby Break, he brought Lorenzo. Well, later he was called Mr. Headspin. So Lorenzo and Baby Break were members of the Ohio Breakers. And so I brought both of them onto that show. That show was the Ohio Valley Music Awards, which Arsenio Hall hosted. And LL was there, Fat Boys was there, Houdini was there as rappers. But it was other R&B singers as well. It was a nice event. It was at the Step. And and oddly enough, they requested that I do Prophecy. That's the only time that's the only performance of Prophecy ever. No time before that and no time after that. And they felt that was a safe song for me to do because they were still kind of iffy about hip hop at that time. So they requested that I do Prophecy. And I loved that song. That's one of the favorite songs of mine because of the lyrical content and what I'm talking about. But it was never a single in the States. And so we had never performed, which was because Beatmaster T he beatbox on Busta's Rhyme and Downbeats, but in Prophecy, there's no beatbox. So you saw him on the stage thinking that he was DMC to my run, which is also hilarious because that was his shot because I said, T, you can, since this is going to be a big thing, a big show, and you're not beatboxing, I still want you on the stage and you could just kind of do accents because you know the song, just maybe catch the end. But T, lightweight, tried to do a duet with me. And I still joke with, we went full out Run DMC with that one. But yeah, no. And because people saw that whole hip hop, it was a collage of a professional show with singers inclusive of elements of hip hop. I got the beatbox element. I got the breakdance element. I got the pop tick lock element. In addition to the girls back there looking like I'm thinking I'm performing on Fame. But and I'm walking around in a tuxedo like I think I'm Bing Crosby. All I need is a martini in my hand. But no, it was a visually different show, and everywhere we ever performed, we always rocked. Anybody who's in the show with us, I don't think they knew that we was coming like that. So everywhere we did a show, it was an excellent show. We rocked every single place we ever went. Never did a bad show.
Well, let's give another example of your performance prowess before I ask you about prophecy. All right, so let's check this out right here.
On April 4th, 1986, a landmark in rap music history ended. The disco fever known as the premier night spot in the Bronx was closed, but tonight, Video Music Box kicks it live in the South Bronx from the Devil's Nest. It's the 10th anniversary of the disco fever, so let's get busy, y'all. The night started out hot. It was a who's who in the music business. Jam Master Jay of Run DMC. A very big limo brought the Fat Boys in, human beatbox. The real Roxanne was a showstopper. Grand Mixer DST. Disco Fever recording artist MC Chill.
I bring you the newest Fever recording artist, all the way from Cleveland, Ohio, MC Chill.
I wrote this story not just for me, but for those who long to become MCs. For those who know and who understand how good it feels with the mic in your hand. If you're down and you know it, you're not just a poet or just anybody there with the mic in your face. You're the heart of the street, the king of the beat, a slave to the rhythm that rocks the place. You're a DJ dream and MC supreme. Go be a chilly mess if you know what I mean. Every night I pray, each and every time, and thank God to be born with the power of rhyme. My neurological needs, psychological lift. It is a mission to explore my God-given gift. To want it so bad, we would do it for free. We were sworn to be born the supreme MC. Story.
Yeah. So that's another example. Actually, at the 10-year anniversary of the Fever, right?
That's the Fever, man. That was a magical night. The Fever anniversary was incredible, and to be able to perform at the Fever anniversary, because you got to realize, man, I was on stage performing, Curtis Blow performed, Run DMC performed, Houdini performed, Lovebug Starsky performed. It was, Grandmaster Flash and them. It was a who's who of the biggest acts in hip hop on that stage that night. So to share that stage with those giants, to be like the new kid, was an incredible night. And in the audience, it was invitation only. The audience was MCs and rappers, Dougie Fresh and UTFO, and like you saw, Roxanne, the real Roxanne, and Grand Mixer DST. Russell Simmons was there. So the performers were large, the audience was large, and to be in the Bronx at that Fever anniversary party was incredible. That was definitely a highlight of my career.
So the Prophecy is a sleeper in the States on the album, but not overseas. The hook, as not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. John Dunny, poet priest, wrote those words, speaking of death. No man is an island unto himself, so ask not for whom the bell tolls. The bell tolls for thee. What struck you about what he wrote that was nearly then a century before, which made you incorporate it into ask not for who the bell tolls, right? Into prophecy. What made you incorporate that into the lyrics? What stood out about it?
Well, I mean, the Prophecy, anybody who hears the song of Prophecy, it's a different type of song. And like you said, it's not a song that they played in the States, but it was big in the UK. And I didn't realize it until I was in New York at a large music seminar where people from the UK, it was at the New Music Seminar, and people from the UK, London, were coming up to me asking me about the Prophecy. And I was like, how do y'all even know the Prophecy? And they're like, oh, it's a big single over in London, and we love it, and we love that song. We love you. And I'm like, the Prophecy is a single? I need to call the record company. I think there's some fishiness going on here. And so then that's when they let me know. I'm thinking they sliding something in on me. But they let me know that they had foreign rights, had signed a deal for people to release the song in the UK. And one of the songs that they picked up was Prophecy. So it was a big single in the UK. But at the time that I'm writing the album, I went into a different place when I wrote Prophecy. I kind of, I didn't even write it from from me. It was like auto writing. It was like out of body experience. And so I really just thought about the future of hip hop and where it was going and where it had come from. And I wasn't even speaking, first person, even in me writing those lyrics. And
it's more like second person. There's first, third,
right,
and then
second person,
third
person, where I'm talking about myself, but it's me, the one that's saying it. But yeah, so it's second person.
Yeah.
So I because at the beginning of the song, it starts talking about hip hop, where it gets started, and take its way back from Africa to the sounds of the city streets, from the ancient tribal drums to the sounds of the city streets. And it was called rap. And from that rap, then it goes into this whole universal theme of where rap could go, where it might go. I talk about a plague of destruction and a changing of rap. And people, later have come to me and said, yeah, Chill, you predicted the oncoming of gangster rap and mumble rap. But certainly none of that had occurred when I'm writing this song. Mm-hmm. Those are songs that I probably wrote probably late 84 into 85.
That's why I was asking you. That's why I was asking you about your family and the religious or the church aspect, because this film, well, it could be a film, but this song in particular, not only does it have a freestyle beat, which is a Latin hip hop thing, it has that freestyle beat which is going, and then it has that crazy solo at the end that kind of puts it into the framework of Hobo Scratch by Malcolm McLaren with and Dudley on there playing, and that piano solo he's doing is just killing it, right? It's just on a whole nother level, and it's just timeless. It's a timeless record. It was like the musical construction of it, what you were talking about, moves through decades. Right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it moves through decades, and it's just a phenomenal record. And we had talked about it on the other show the other day, and I was like, that could be on in video games, and people will be buying it and grabbing it like it's brand new because it's timeless. It's not caught in catching the time right then and being modern for the time then. It's something that was created that's ahead of its time.
Yeah, so I think what you may hear, you aren't the first person to connect it to maybe some religious themes, because certainly it has like this Genesis beginning. In the beginning, there was the beat, and the beat was without form. But then it is, and to me, those are universal things. And because what happens after that, I start talking, like I said, in the beginning there was the beat, and the beat was out form. Music was good, and it was called rap. And then I talk about from the ancient tribal drums to the sounds of the city streets. And I predict the oncoming and how big rap would become worldwide. So I really saw it at the time as universal themes that kind of cross religious overtones, ancient African, Egyptian overtones or undertones, and the speaker that I'm rapping through is talking as if he is omnipotent.
Yeah. It's almost a godhead. It's like a godhead thing going on in it.
You know, where I say stuff like the lyrics that I leave will live forever, and that obviously I'm not talking about me. It's talking about hip hop and about the oncoming. And at the point in time, I didn't know that hip hop would become this worldwide phenomena. But those are kind of some of the tones. And so, to answer your question, I wrote the lyrics without a hook. And I think Mike Chapman's music and those chords, I don't know if that was Mike or Trent, probably Trent, with some of the chords and the music, because not only, like I said, did we have Kevin Kendricks doing that piano solo, we had Quentin Rubin doing some guitar riffs, nice guitar riffs in there. And of course, some keyboards and keys. And Red himself even played conga in that song. So we had a lot of real musicality. And when I heard the entire song, and it had like this omnipotent spookiness to the song. And so once I kind of understood the direction that the song sounded after I recorded the track with the music, I added the hook. And I think to me, the hook answered the question of what the song was saying, that it is us, it is the culture, it is the rapper. Ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. It's us. Don't ask who's doing this, where this comes from, where it generates from, what's the genesis of it. We are the genesis of it. It begins with us. It is our culture. It is our spirit. It's us. Don't ask for whom the bell tolls, good or bad, right or wrong. It's what we make it. The bell tolls for thee. And so that was kind of where I came up, you know, with using that hook that the girls would end up singing.
Mm-hmm. And it didn't come from the college studies. You weren't in a particular class and you had read the classics, and then that came on. You said that would be beautiful for that.
It didn't come directly from that, but certainly it came from, because when I got to Kent State University, I tell people I was reborn in the Pan-African Studies department, where I learned terms such as Pan-Africanism and Afrocentricity. I first heard those words ever, and what it meant to be African-centered. And I think that that opened up my worldview as far as a lyricist, or just even a thinker or a free thinker. And so it connected all of those things. It connected universal themes, religious themes, various cultural themes, different parts of poetry. But I probably accredit that, you know, not only to my upbringing, but it probably all came together at the Center for Pan-African Studies and under Kent State's Pan-African Studies Department.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's go to the next song, which I'm looking at is Beat Them Down 40 Below Remix. So let's take a listen to that.
Beat them down. Beat. We came here to beat them down. Bust. You big dummy. Bust. I miss you. Bust. Gotta step back and kiss myself. Bust.
Okay. So that remix. Now, remember we were talking the other day, and I was talking about Buff from Fat Boys. I was talking about
Fat Boys.
The Fat Boys, and talking about their stick 'em, ha, stick 'em. When I was a kid and I had this record and I had the remix, that used to pound through the speakers, the 40 Below remix of Beat Them Down.
Downbeats, yeah.
Right, Downbeat. So was the studio recording then mastered by the time you went back in and you were able to then get him closer to the mic to be able to get that bottom? Explain the process of the remix of it's labeled on the internet as Beat Them Down, not Downbeats, but it's labeled as Beat Them Down. But was the dog bark to represent the Cleveland Dog Pound?
Man, let me tell you, that the remix and downbeats themselves was a unique experience to get made, because that's now Beatmaster T did some beatboxing on the initial song on Busta's Rhyme, but downbeats was basically dedicated to him, to the beatboxing thing, and that was important to me because that was an element of hip hop. The human beatbox. And at that point, Dougie Fresh had introduced everybody to human beatbox, and of course Buff from the Fat Boys, who were my label mates at Sutra Fever. But I had been rolling with T before I had a record, and it's another person that I told, if I get a record deal, that I'm gonna come back and get you. And you know what? A lot of people tell people that when they do something or they make it big, they got to go back and get them. And oftentimes they don't. But I tried to be a man of my word and to go back and get all those people. Beatmaster T, Teddy Ted, to go back and get some of those people as I, was going through my hip hop journey pre-record. But I knew I wanted to do a record featuring the beatbox, featuring T. And as I told you before, to hear T beat live was incredible, man. The bass punch of his, or you talked about the bottom of his live beats and shows, was incredible. And we never really still could capture it in the studio, because the original downbeats was a success, and we were able, when it was a favorite on the album. So when we started talking about a third single after Busta's Rhyme and an MC Story, then it was easily going to be Downbeats. And so, they released back then 12 inches. So we started talking about doing a remix. And so I wanted to, after I heard LL do a remix of Rock the Bells, before, when they did a remix, when hip hop artists did remix, it was the same song, just a different music mix. But LL, when he did the remix Rock the Bells, he did new lyrics. It was different lyrics in the remix of Rock the Bells. So I was like, I want to do that with Downbeats. Now, it was a collaboration in efforts to get that done, because that dog barking, that was also on the original version of Downbeats. And that was a drum kit that Mike Chapman had actually got from Johnny O, from DJ Johnny O. A drum kit samples that was already in the drum kit. So Mike Chapman kind of tinkered with that and incorporated that the dog barking. And so for the remix, and this is a lot of people don't know this, you hear those back scratchings, that chick, 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 chick. That's actually Johnny O scratching in the Downbeats remix.
Okay.
So big ups so not only did he contribute the drum kit that made Downbeats famous with that dog barking in the original Downbeats, but he also contributed the back scratching to the remix portion of the song. But we had a little bit better familiarity with recording T he did some extra different beats. Some we used the beats from the original song, but then he came back in and did some beats, and they had a Mike Chapman, the studio had a better understanding now of how to actually cue and record a human beatboxer, but it still doesn't tell the story of how T sounds beatboxing in a live performance. But yeah, well, Downbeats was fun, man.
He's kind of like your Louis Armstrong. They said they were never really able to capture Louis Armstrong's horn because it was so loud. So he couldn't be up on the mic. He had to be out in the hallway, and they really on record never captured his power that he could actually do. So
and I use a lyric saying that. I use a lyric in the song about Beatmaster T, saying he's like Louis Armstrong without a doubt. Not with a trumpet, but his mouth he can bust it out. So that I actually say that in the song.
Mm-hmm. Nightmares on Chill Street, Nothing Could Save You. Children's Story, Open Your Eyes, Jealousy rounded out the album, but Bust This Rhyme was first.
A young homeboy that always threw the deal. And then one day he was working on a line, then he wrote it all down and he bust this rhyme.
Kim the Nets cut the beat with Beatmaster T, and we were rocking from the bottom to the T.O.P. Cause when we rock a party, there is no mistaking. The roof was burning and the block was shaking. The police rushed in and asked for chill. They put the handcuffs on me and read me the deal. I said, I know my rights, so don't even try it. But they put me anyway for inciting a riot.
So let's bust this rhyme. It was first. What was that feeling? What was that experience like? Hearing it on the radio for the first time, hearing it in the club.
Well, firstly, I want to say that Nightmare on Chill Street was not on that album. That was the beginning of the second. The second.
Now they put it together on when you go see it. It's all together. So excuse me, but it's all together now. Yeah.
So it was because Nightmare on Chill Street was produced by Fresh Gordon. That was my only other producer. I went to Brooklyn, and Fresh Gordon, who made Gordy's Groove, who recorded everybody in Brooklyn from Biggie to Jay-Z to everybody in Brooklyn. Went to Gordy's house to record, and I met Fresh Gordon because he had produced In the House by the Fat Boys, and he was up at Sutra collecting his check, and I certainly knew him from his song Gordy's Groove because it came out the same time as Busta's Rhyme because it had that Andy Griffith. We both had like an Andy Griffith thing going, but we'll get back to Busta's Rhyme. At the very beginning. And like I said, I wasn't new. And when the song came out late 85, 86, I was by no means a brand new rapper. I was at least 4 years already in the game of writing and performing. So that's why at the beginning of the song, the very first thing you hear at the beginning of Busta's Rhyme, it says, it's me saying, when they told me I could make a record, I said to myself, well, it's about time. That's the very first thing you hear on Busta's Rhyme. And that's how I felt because it was my quest to get a record deal, which was so far-fetched at the time because no Cleveland cats were doing national cuts like that. So get a record deal, it was something that almost was unattainable. When it happened, I'm like, man, it's about time. So when I first heard, and like I think I've said before, everybody knows where they were the first time they hear their song on the radio. And I was at Kent State driving down the street, and I hear Dean Rufus on 108. Dean had that real cool voice. Ooh, to the beat. Ladies and gentlemen, Cleveland's own, brand new, MC Chill, Bust This Rhyme. And man, I'm about to crash my car. I'm trying to roll down the window, tell people next to me, yo, turn on 108, my song is on, and people driving like, the hell, dude, you driving all crooked and erratically, you're going to have a car crash. So I'm like listening to the song, I'm jamming, I'm like, I'm on the, no cell phone during this time, so I can't call anybody. So I drive to my apartment, and it's like a zillion people at my apartment. They heard the song, and everybody ran to my apartment. And it's like a bunch of people outside, inside. It's a party at my apartment. And they're like, Chill, you missed it. They played your song on the radio. I'm like, hell no, I didn't miss it. I heard it. That's why I came back here. I'm trying to find people to tell them about it. So, yeah, man, we had a ball. Now, certainly, because I had the song, after recording it and mastering it, I had different versions of the song months and months later. So a lot of my friends had heard the song a billion times. And to the point where it started to seem as a myth that this song was actually going to be a record on the radio. Like they had heard it on my boombox at my apartment, on my Walkman. They like, okay, Chill, we'd have heard the song a million times, but when is this going to be a record? So it wasn't like the people around me had never heard the song. But when they heard it on the radio, damn it, it was official. It was on now. Game on. It was going down. That meant we would start doing shows. I was about to get some checks. It was on then. I was official.
Official. So let's fast forward. You graduated from university. You have your degree, and your first writing job was for the Source magazine. How did you nail that?
Let's go. I went back home. I was in New York City at a new music seminar. And this was my second return to the new music seminar. I was there in 85 when Earl Holliman won the World Championship Human Beatbox title. And I tell everybody, I celebrated Earl, rest in peace, and myself and Earl Holliman, because he won like this big silver cup. And we drank Beck's beer out of the silver cup in Times Square, celebrating his win. And so it was the second time I had returned to the new music seminar, because by then Source magazine had come out, and it was pretty much the Bible of hip hop. There was no, Vibe magazine, XL, Double XL. There was none of those. It was Source magazine, and because they would cover hip hop from other regions, I saw that I was such a homer for repping for Cleveland. When I saw the then editor of John Schechter of Source magazine, I was at him like, yo, man, how come y'all don't have stuff from Cleveland? How come there's nobody writing, from Cleveland or about Cleveland? And he's looking at me like, does Cleveland have some stuff to write about? Is it a hip hop scene in Cleveland? And man, I was insulted. I looked at him like, boy, I'll smack you. But so I was like, man, you got to be kidding me. It goes down in Cleveland. So he says, okay, well, here's my card. Send me something and we'll see what it does. Now, initially, I wasn't asking to be the writer. I was just saying, you need some stuff from Cleveland. We need some representation. But, I like this. You know what? I'm college educated. I will write something. And I went home, and which was so crazy. I'm on a spiral notebook. I'm writing some stuff, and I'm scratching out stuff and tearing the pages. So I finally get like a story, tear it out of the spiral notebook. It's handwritten with a pencil. Tear it out of the spiral notebook and fax it to Source magazine. Just torn up spiral edges and everything. Handwritten, pencil, stuff crossed out, the eraser marks. And so they call me and they say, we dig your writing style. And they was like, okay, send us something every month. We'll work it out with you, but do me a favor, get a computer. Don't send us nothing crazy looking like that ever again. On that spiral notebook, you got crossed out words, and dude, get a computer. And so I did. And so for the next 2 years, I was regional correspondent for Source Magazine, and that began my journalism career. What started as me writing about hip hop ends up with me being managing editor, president, general manager of a historic 100-year-old black newspaper, Call and Post, and then leading to me.
We're gonna get there.
Okay.
We're gonna get there.
All right. You know what I'm saying? And I end up being the president of the Black Journalists Association. But it all starts with hip hop. It starts with hip hop. It starts with me being a hip hop writer.
Mm-hmm. So your writing style is from the insider into writing to the outside, meaning that because you were in it, you had a unique vantage point or perspective. Let's talk about that, your writing style.
When I started writing, I primarily started writing as a hip hop journalist. And of course, as a hip hop artist and a rhyme writer, my style had like a rhythm to it, a flow to it. And I would tell people, man, this journalism thing is easy. Like the words don't even have to rhyme. Like this is, if I don't have to make the words rhyme, this is an easy gig, man. And because I was already a writer, I'm a hip hop writer, I'm a rhyme writer, and of course I wrote term papers and all of that. So I took to the journalism style, but I still used that performance flow of how I wrote and the direction and the arc and flow of how I told the story. I always felt that I was writing a lyrical story. Again, that just didn't often rhyme. But as far as metaphors and similes and double entendres and wordplay, you get a chance to use that as a journalist, the same as you do or should do as a lyrical hip hop writer. I mean, a lot of them don't, but you should if you're about that craft and if you're about that life. So yeah, I took to the journalism thing.
Mm-hmm. So you are your elder statesman at this point of hip hop in Cleveland, utilizing connects to assist the next generation of hip hop artists in the city to break them through. Such example, Catch 22.
Yeah, Catch 22. I got them. I ended up, because I was at that point, I started dragging people to New York. I was making Cleveland artists come to New York. I brought Bango, the B-boy outlaw. I brought him to New York, introduced him to a world audience. He ends up getting a record deal with Ice-T and being involved with Rhyme Syndicate. I brought Surge, Serious Effects Rhymes Giving Education, to New York. He ends up getting an offer from a zillion record companies, and he starts writing for people like Professor Griff from Public Enemy. He's on other people's songs. Delicious Vinyl brought him in to replace Young MC to write Tone Loc's project, and then even my girl Lori D, who later became 350 the Mobstress. I formed a collective called The Conflict, The Final Conflict, and from there we even get Todd Sams, who was part of The Conflict in a group called the Step Off Crew, and later Todd Sams becomes one of the greatest hip hop choreographers on the planet. Usher, Brandy, Chris Brown, Beyonce. He even ended up working with Michael Jackson doing choreography for Michael Jackson before he made transition. But Todd came out of my Final Conflict camp that I was trying to expose to the next level of hip hop. And Lori, the monstrous, she ended up signing with Scarface as a part of the Face Mob. But yeah, so at Catch 22, I ended up getting them a deal with Profile Records. So I started trying to bring along, and see, that's another thing that people should do. Once they get on and get their foot in the door, they should use those connections to bring more people in. And so, in addition to my connections as what was becoming an old school artist, and being a journalist, and also started doing the radio show at WZAK. I hosted the Rappers Delight show, so I also used that as a vehicle to bring Cleveland artists into national notoriety.
Mm-hmm. And breaking records and causing certain records
and breaking records. I started playing because I was going back and forth to New York a lot, and people were starting to recognize my show. They were calling me, he's the new Mr. Magic, which is a gigantic compliment. And it's no question that I patterned my show after Mr. Magic's show. From the introduction to like the drops before I would play a new song. I had this thing, Pumpin' Premiere, and Super C-Town, Pumpin' Premiere, and I would play a new song. And the introduction to the Rappers Delight, oh my God, I had like all of these artists saying, yo, when I'm in Cleveland, I rock with MC Chill on the Rappers Delight show. I had like Kumo D, Afrika Bambaataa, Ice-T, the real Roxanne, man. The intro to that Rappers Delight show is out here somewhere in the atmosphere. But from me doing the Rappers Delight show, I was able to start playing other people's records that had not left New York. So from Boogie Down Productions to Audio 2, that Top Billin' was one of the songs I was responsible for breaking nationally. Queen Latifah, De La Soul, Stetsasonic. So a lot of those songs I was responsible for taking out of New York and bringing them to the rest of the country. So yeah, certainly and I even got a gold record from De La Soul, that 3 Feet High and Rising. And so yeah, a lot of groups, and Russell Simmons, we collaborated a lot of times on songs. I spent a lot of time up in what was the original Def Jam office up in Soho, just parlaying with cats that was working there. By then, Russell had started getting real big, and so I started kind of working with my man Bill Stephanie, Mr. Bill, who was also connected to Public Enemy. But we broke. So a lot of times they gave me releases. Like I was probably one of the first people to play some new LL songs, like Jack the Ripper and stuff like that. So yeah, the gig at the radio station also took me to another level of hip hop. So yeah, I was from the radio station to the journalism, from actually being an artist. So I covered the waterfront for hip hop.
Taking the waterfront by force, so to speak.
By force, that's right.
So for those just tuning in, we have the first big MC from CLE, MC Chill, Kevin Hurd. We've been interviewing with him, getting the extensive, exclusive interview right here on hashtag TFRPODCASTLIVE. And we're going to continue on because at this point, Chill has been a college student who gained exposure through the Bomb Squad, broke solo, got a regional deal to a national deal to a nationally and internationally recognized recording artist, to becoming a journalist with the Source magazine, to becoming a radio personality, breaking hip hop music on the radio in Cleveland, Ohio, thus making Cleveland, Ohio again a market that everyone wanted to flood their records to get it to jumpstart so it would move down south, move out to Los Angeles, move across seas, right here coming from Cleveland, Ohio. So at this point, you become the associate, the assistant editor at the Call & Post magazine. How did you get that? And then you later became editor and an executive officer. Let's talk about the Call & Post for a second.
I got a call saying that, and this was a Mike Chapman hookup. I think it was one of them shaker. It was a suburb hookup.
Mike Chapman keeps coming through. Mike Chapman keeps coming through.
Yeah.
It's not who you know, it's who knows you.
Yeah.
That's right. And Mike at this point today is a multi-millionaire. He need to break off some of that loot. But anyhow, Mike Chapman has become very successful in the world, in his livelihood, and his business. And big ups to that brother. But yeah, Mike Chapman gave me a call and said Kamala Bustamante, who was the editor of the entertainment magazine at the Call & Post, it was called Showtime, said, and I'm sure that was a Shaker Heights connection. Mike's a Shaker kid, and the Bustamantes, people in Cleveland know the Bustamantes. They owned the first black bank in Cleveland. And the father, John Bustamante, was a nationally known attorney and ended up owning the Call & Post newspaper, a legendary black newspaper, now over 100 years old. But Mike says that Kamala is looking for me. She was looking for somebody to do rap record reviews. And I'm assuming they figure, hey, well, Chill's a rapper. He's a writer. He's writing for Source Magazine. And I had done some other, covered some hip hop stuff for like Scene Magazine, Free Times. Because once I started doing stuff for Source Magazine, other people started recognizing my journalistic voice. And so I can understand somebody contacting me about doing rap record reviews. So I come up to the Call & Post. I talk to Kamala Bustamante. And so we sit down and we have a nice talk, and we talk about a lot of things. And so it comes to her that maybe this dude can maybe write about more than rap records, like now that she's talking to me. And so she's like, can you do movie reviews? And I'm like, yeah, I got that. And she's like, okay, can you cover plays? Like, yes. Can you do book reviews? Can you interview book authors? I'm like, hell yeah. Had I ever done any of that? No, never. But hey, if you can do hip hop stuff, you can do all of that stuff. So, and the odd thing about it is I started doing movie reviews. First movie review I ever did was Will Smith's first movie. What was the name of that movie where he played like the young
6 Degrees of Separation?
What is it called?
6 Degrees of
Separation.
6 Degrees of Separation. And I thought, and so many, and again, I tell people that whole butterfly effect thing, Will, Fresh Prince, we're contemporaries as far as when we started in the industry. When I came out with Busta's Rhyme, they had like that Gilligan's Island thing to it. Will Smith came out, Fresh Prince came out with Girls of the World Ain't Nothing But Trouble. It had an I Dream of Jeannie thing to it. So we were contemporaries, and at one point they asked me at the record company, should they sign Fresh Prince? That's how new he was. And I'm thinking like, yeah, he's dope. He tells good stories, but why the hell are you asking me to replace myself at the record company with somebody who does the same thing that I do? But, I'm like, yeah, Fresh Prince is dope. He has a dope DJ. Yeah, I think it would be a good addition to that. But so now here it comes. They're asking me to review a movie starring Fresh Prince. I know him as Fresh Prince. And in the movie, he's claiming to be the son of Sidney Poitier. For people who know that story. Now, here's this somebody doesn't know. Sidney Poitier's kids are my cousins. Sidney's first wife, Juanita Poitier, is my cousin. And so his kids, his first daughter, Pam Poitier, is my cousin. So when I see the movie and I'm realizing that he's saying that his character is saying he's the son of Sidney Poitier, I'm connected to that story. And I'm like, okay, well, we know where this going. This dude is not this, because I already know Sidney's kids, and this dude ain't one of them. But so I thought that was interesting. That one, my first gig doing a movie review involves Will Smith, who's a contemporary of mine as far as hip hop, and he's claiming to be the son of Sidney Poitier, who his oldest child, Pam, is my cousin. But so I thought it was interesting. And everything else that I end up covering, book reviews, I started doing interviews, was all the first, even though I was telling Kamala and the Colin Post, yeah, I got that. I had never done it before. But I swear it was an easy gig, and I really loved it. Like the first interview that I ever did, I got a chance to interview Curtis Mayfield. And man, that was an incredible experience. And I was worried because Curtis had just become a quadriplegic at the time. I'm like, man, this dude might not be the friendliest cat to talk to. But man, we talked. He sung songs. I told him how his, the Superfly soundtrack in my mind was the greatest true soundtrack of all time, song for song, greatest soundtrack of all time. And, and of course, Superfly, if people who don't know, is a Cleveland story, starring a Cleveland actor and written by a Cleveland screenplay writer. But it's just a Cleveland story that takes place in New York. But yeah, it was, man, to interview Curtis Mayfield, the first cat that I ever interviewed, was incredible. I got a chance to interview Nikki Giovanni, Maya Angelou. So after that, man, this was a great gig. And then they soon realized that I could cover anything, not even just entertainment. I could cover political stories. I could cover crime. So, I don't even think I ever did do a rap record review, which is what they initially were bringing me in to talk about. Mm-hmm. So it was a good gig, man.
Mm-hmm. So then you went on to co-found the African American Film Critics Association, Afrika. How did that come about?
Well, after I started going back and forth to New York and Los Angeles doing these movie junkets, where they fly you out they fly out a bunch of journalists to interview the stars of the film. I think it's more cost effective than flying the celebrities all over the country. They just bring the journalists to one location. Mm-hmm. And it didn't take long to realize that there weren't a lot of Black journalists at these things. It was a lot of times that I was the only journalist of color at a lot of these press junkets. And then I met this other brother, Gil Robertson, at the time from Atlanta. And we kind of, when you see another Black person, you go over and talk to him like, what's up? Where are you from? Let's hang out, drinks at the bar. Where are we going tonight? What's happening? And so me and Gil started building. And I believe the first film that I was doing that I met Gil was either Panther, and I'm not talking about the Wakanda Panther. I'm talking about the Huey Newton, Bobby Seals Panther, the Black Panther, with the leather jackets, the tams, and the guns. Them Panthers. So it was either Panther or Set It Off. Again, I'm now interviewing, which became a theme. I'm interviewing because now rap artists are now being in these movies. So again, Latifah is almost a contemporary. She comes out a little bit after me, but certainly, I knew Queen Latifah from hip hop. and had broke a lot of her records, early hip hop records. So now she's in movies. But so it was during that time that I met Gil, and so every once in a while it would be a couple of more black people. So it must have been a black film where on this day it might have been 8 of us, which is a humongous amount considering that it's like 50 journalists there, and normally it's like 1 or 2. So Gil says, "Hey, Kevin, we're gonna meet over at the bar. It's a lot of black journalists here. We're gonna meet at the bar, and maybe we should get to know each other, and we might not have another chance like this, and maybe we can start something." So what came out of that in New York City at the bar was a discussion that led to the creation of the African American Film Critics Association. That was 18 years ago. Today, man, it is a humongous. Africa is humongous. The group is a leader in black film critics. We lead the year off with our award selections. Our selections make all of the trade magazines, Variety, all the trade magazines for film. We have this big giant event in Hollywood that all the actors show up to, and it's a big deal now. They have deals with Netflix and internships and job offers and student journalism advancements. And just to think that 18 years ago, it starts with me and Gil meeting at the bar for drinks. And 18 years later,
Turner Classic Movies also.
Yeah. So I'm very proud of the direction that and it's funny because when we did a thing, Netflix did a sponsored thing with Afrika to come out and hang out with Eddie Murphy, and it wasn't. And people might have saw some of the photos that I posted with Eddie Murphy, but that wasn't an interview. That was recognition of Afrika. It was more of a soiree. We met in the North Hollywood Hills, and it's somebody's humongous house overlooking North Hollywood. And Eddie came and talked with us and ate and drank, and we parlayed. But it was funny because when I came down to the hotel lobby where we met at, it felt like I was the founder of a fraternity because all of these newer, younger members of Afrika, they see Gil all the time. And the other guy who they call co-founder, Sean Edwards, they kind of see them all the time. And, when I come down and they like, "Oh, that's one of the founders. He's one of the founders." And people coming, the younger journalists are coming and talking to me. I'm like, man, this is what it feels like to be the founder of a frat. But it was a good feeling. And I told Gil that I would, be a little bit more diligent in working with, an organization that I helped create. Matter of fact, I talked to Gil today that they're doing something that he says, "I got something for you, Chill." So that'll you'll find people will hear more about that today. But yeah, I'm doing something special with Afrika coming up in the near future.
And you began to interview actors, directors, and producers for urban flicks. Let's watch.
Here we are with our own Academy Award winner, Halle Berry. Here we are.
Yes, here we are.
With my absolute favorite actor, Lawrence Fishburne.
I thank you, sir.
Here we are with the star of Creed, Michael B. Jordan. How's it going?
Doing good. How you doing?
I checked your resume. You're a hip-hop cat. You got some hip-hop background.
You're the only person that said that.
You're a hip-hop cat. I checked your background. And tell me this, how cool is it to have Jay-Z kicking lyrics on the trailer of the movie?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
That's hot, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Here we are with my main man, Ice Cube. What's up, G?
What's happening, man? How you feeling?
Hey, man, always good to see you.
I see you came and blasted me out with your LeBron
come
jersey,
on, man. You know I'm repping Cleveland.
I know y'all champions, man.
I was going to wear my ring today, but I didn't want to do that to you.
You should have brought that ring, man. I want to see that.
Yo, first of all, I haven't seen you since Straight Outta Compton, so congratulations on that, man.
Thank you, man. We was so proud to be able.
So, these are just some of the people that you've interviewed. So here it comes.
Hey, man.
So
Hey, wait. Hold on. Did you see me with T'Challa, with the Panther, before they stripped away the purple flower of his power? Yeah, that was my man Chadwick Boseman before he was Panther.
Before, that was 42. That was when he was playing all of the great black
Jackie Robinson,
heroes.
He played James Brown.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But that was first. That was his first gig. That was his first debut was as Jackie Robinson in 42. But yeah, so I got a chance to chill with the Panther before he was the Black Panther.
Then you had Lawrence Fishburne. You sat down with him.
Hey man, that's my man, Fish. I tell people now, because we get to see Fishburne on television every week on Blackish, and I tell, because my daughter, she's getting into film writing, filmmaking, screenplays, playwriting, and I say, man, y'all got it easy, because y'all get to see like Lawrence Fishburne and what's the sister on the Murder, How to Get Away with Murder?
Yeah, Viola Davis.
Viola Davis, man, two of the greatest black actors of our times. In my day, you had to wait a whole year to see Lawrence Fishburne in something, or to see Viola Davis in something. We get to see him every freaking week. Come on, man. So we spoiled. But
Did you
Fishburne,
ever
man.
Ask him? I know you were asking about his contemporary film. Did you ever ask him about Cornbread Earl and Me?
Dude, I asked him about Cornbread Earl and Me. I talked to him about Apocalypse Now. He was a teenager in Apocalypse Now, but he was a baby in Cornbread Earl and Me. He was me. He wasn't Cornbread nor Earl. He was me. And I talked to man. Fishburne is one of the coldest cats. I mean, we take it for granted now that we can see him every week. But man, Lawrence Fishburne, man, did you see that dude as Ike Turner? Furious Styles, I even talked about, man, that's one of the dopest names of any character ever when he played Furious Styles. Mm-hmm. But, oh man, so yeah, to interview Lawrence Fishburne, and I told him, man, that's one of my favorite actors. Boys in the Hood, yeah. One of my favorite actors.
Also one of his greatest, Bumpy Johnson.
Bumpy Johnson. Come on, man. Fishburne?
That
man,
right
Fishburne
there
a bad boy. I don't think people realize that.
That's got to be in the top 10 of gangster films.
Yeah.
I mean, it's underrated, but it's one of the top 10 of gangster films, and you actually see the person win in the end, even though there's because in the early films with Oscar Micheaux, there's a through line of religion, of spirituality, and so in the end, even though he won, he loses. Going into his later years, then we see him come back again in Godfathers of Harlem, played by another great actor, Forrest Whitaker.
Which I've also been able to, man, I've been blessed to interview certainly every major black actor, from Fishburne, the male actor from Fishburne, to Forrest Whitaker, from Denzel, man, the Queens, Angela. I might have interviewed Angela Bassett a billion times. Lynn Whitfield. You showed Hallie. I know we'll talk about that, but I've interviewed almost, and not just black actors. I've interviewed every major actor of European descent as well. So it was a good run doing that. And thanks to my man Richard Zoom Scott, Emmy Award-winning cameraman and producer over at Fox 8, for creating Urban Flicks. But I was doing those interviews even before I was doing Urban Flicks. They just all weren't filmed because I was doing them for the paper, for journalism. But then other people started giving me television formats. And since I was already there doing it for print, they started hooking me in to the television interviews as long as I had an outlet. So I've done television interviews for TV 20. I've had some of my stuff. I've been a stand-in for the Moss Man, the king of Cleveland film reviews on Fox 8. I've stood in for the Moss Man a time or two, but I've done quite a few shows, but a lot for Urban Flicks gave me a good platform to do my movie reviews and my interviews.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you interview Michael B. Jordan, and now he's in the news because his speech that he gave during the protests and speaking about making sure that the companies now not only make black films, but they make sure that the cast, the crew, the writers of the content, that they hire black people, and that people who are racist, he will not have them in his organization if they have something where they have something against people that look like him, and are going to exclude him from their hate because he's the star. He's not going to even deal with those people anymore. So he's real strong, you know, doing what he's doing and breaking down the 4 roles that he played, including Creed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mike B. Jordan is dope, man. And they got a good collaborative thing going on with producer, director, writer Ryan Coogler, brother from the Bay Area. And, you know, they teamed up with Fruitvale. And if anybody hasn't seen Fruitvale Station, oh, my God, please go back and see it. That's where we really see Michael B. Jordan do his thing. And that was like one of the first collaborations between him and Ryan Coogler, who then go on to do the Creed movie, and then go on to do the part 2, and also Panther. Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan team up for that. So they got a good thing going, man. I'm really proud of them cats, and to be able to talk to the both of them as you know their first beginning on that journey was real cool. And plus, I'm a fan of The Wire, and we first meet, or at least I first come into contact with seeing Michael B. Jordan. I think his character was Wallace, one of the best, most well written series in television history. So yeah, Michael Jordan's a good dude, man.
And then you interview one of my favorite people, you know, Ice Cube. You interview Ice Cube, it seems a few times. Like, what is Ice Cube as gregarious as he seems in front of the camera off, or is it something that turns on and then turns off and it's about business?
Well, again, when I first interviewed Ice Cube, the very first time, I'm trying to think, when is the first, because I've interviewed Cube a couple of times now, but the first time I interviewed him, and, I said, oh, this is Chill from Cleveland. He's like, wait a minute, are you MC Chill? And I'm like, yeah. He like, you had the album cover with the girls in the bikinis? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, man, are you interviewing people? I'm like, yeah, you Ice Cube from NWA, and now you doing movies. And so I would sometimes tell people I was the president of the MC organization of MCs doing other things. And I told Cube he was a member. He was a member, but I was the president. And so it was cool that Cube, knew who. And again, like I said, that happens a lot of times when I interview, because a lot of hip hop artists were in movies during that time. So Cube was cool, but I mean, he was also relating to me as an artist that he knew, and we kind of built. But one funny story is there was a point in time where I was getting royalties from Ice Cube's song "Jackin' for Beats," and I think when I interviewed Cube during, I think it was for Players Club, I mentioned to him that I was getting royalties for Jackin' for Beats. Okay, let this be a lesson to everybody. But keep your damn mouth closed sometimes. Because Cube kind of looked like, really? Like, I don't even know what song of yours I use. I'm like, I don't know either, but thank you. Those are nice checks. Hey, man, Next quarterly statement, that was the last time I was getting money from Ice Cube royalty checks for Jagged for Beats. He must have went and straightened that one out. And so yeah, let that be a lesson to everybody. You get some checks and you don't know where the hell the money comes, keep your mouth closed. But no, but it always is cool talking to Cube, and we kind of relate differently that I see him relating to other people. But no, he's a good dude to interview, intelligent brother. He still has that Cube edge to him. And always a good time when I'm interviewing Cube.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now, Cleveland's own Halle Berry. What is she like as a person, and is she a shy person?
Okay, well, first let me let everybody know I've known Halle. I went to elementary school with Halle. Halle, you know, everybody claiming that Bedford thing. Now, Halle, a Lee Harvard girl. Okay. She went to Adelaide Stevenson.
Oh.
All right. Okay. Her and her sister, Heidi. They went to Adelaide Stevenson. The difference was when she was in Lee and Harvard, she was rolling with her middle name. She was Marie Berry. Oh. And so if you knew her as a little kid, she was Marie. But she's Halle Marie Berry. But so I knew her and her sister in elementary school. And so I also knew them after they moved to Bedford because my cousin Keith lived in Oakwood. And so they grew up with Halle and her sister Heidi. And so I knew them from elementary school. Then I knew them growing up through junior high and high school. And then in college, Heidi, her sister, went to Kent State University. And she was like girlfriend of my DJ, Kid Finesse. So Heidi was like my other roommate. So I knew Halle from elementary school. So I knew her before her claim to fame. And I consider
before you continue that Bedford and Oakwood is a whole nother story altogether. You know, the way it looks, the rolling greens of the lawns, and it's a whole contingency.
It ain't Lee Harvard.
Like no, but like what they used to call the what was it, Miles Heights? They used to call Miles Heights Little Africa. That's what the white realtors and people who were plotting out who would live where. They used to call that Little Africa. That would be Little Africa in there. It's hid away. You wouldn't know that those many black people were in those homes, stretch ranches.
Over in Oakwood Village,
beautiful place over there. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Go ahead. I just had to put that in there because that's a connection between Lee and Harvard and Oakwood, Bedford. It seems to be. Go ahead.
Right. So, and I will tell people this: Halle was always, even as a young girl, she was, and they say beauty is superficial, but she always had like this special light, even as a younger young woman, as a teenager. She had something different going on. And I remember we had a basketball game at Kent State. The Capitals were playing the Cubes. And our advisor, it's a grown ass man, advisor came and he was like, "Who is that girl over there?" And he's pointing to the bleachers. And I'm thinking like, dude, it's like 200 people in the bleachers. I'm supposed to know who you're talking about. But I hadn't looked. And he was like, "Just look over there." And, you look and then you see Halle over there and it's like, oh, like the sun is shining on her. And there's a rainbow around her. And you're like, "Oh, you're talking about her." And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, that's Halle Berry. That's Heidi's little sister. I know her from that." He was like, "Oh my God, I'm like, "Dude, she's like 14, 15 years old." I'm like, "Damn." But but she always had like that special light. But and I was gonna say I consider Halle a friend. And I've obviously I've had interactions with Halle, not as a journalist. She always, from the time that she got out to LA, and I became involved in journalism. And coming back out to LA, we were reconnected by my friend Vinland Beckles, who was going to Kent State University. Shout out to Collinwood Glenville. She's a Collinwood Glenville, St. Clair area sister who's done very well in life. Big ups to my sister Vinland. But she was working. She was Hallie's best friend and came to LA to Hollywood with Hallie at the request of Hallie. So she reconnected me and Hallie, and I came to when she was filming the Dorothy Dandridge film.
Okay.
She sent a message through Vinland asking did I want to come to the set. I was there actually interviewing Maya Angelou.
Okay.
Amazing giant. I was there to interview Maya Angelou and another incredible giant who I was able to actually, talk with. But so that weekend, I came down to the set where Hallie was filming the Dorothy Dandridge, which was the precursor to her winning the Academy Award. That was that roller coaster for her that took her to that. I mean, obviously we had seen her in a billion other things, but I think that her getting that Dorothy Dandridge piece took her to like the highest of heights. But I came to the set, she shut the set down and was like, this is my friend Kevin from Cleveland. I've known him since I was 8 years old. Whatever he wants, y'all take care of him. And I was already told that she was so into playing Dorothy that you had to call her Dorothy on the set. Now, obviously, Dorothy Dandridge is another Clevelander. So, and the first Black woman to be nominated for a lead role, which Hallie ends up winning. But she shut the set down, told everybody whatever I needed, but I was already hip to. They said if you called her Hallie, you could get thrown off the set, but you had to call her Dorothy. And I don't think she, anticipated that I would also call her Dorothy. But I'm not rolling in trying to get kicked off the set. So when I called her Dorothy, she kind of smiled and was like, "Okay, all right, Kev, cool." And I would tell people, I'd have them laughing because it seemed at some point, it seemed like I was in charge of something because people were like, women were actors was coming to ask me questions about where should I stand when the next scene, I'm in it, but I'm not on camera. Where should I stand? And of course, y'all know me, instead of saying, I ain't got nothing to do with that, I'm giving out information. Okay, I think you need to stand over there and because you don't want any problems with Dorothy. And okay, well, thank you. So yeah, I'm giving instructions. I'd made myself an associate producer of the film. But ever
Tanya
since that day, anything.
This is a great interview. Go ahead.
Oh well, big ups. Thank you, Tanya. Yeah, that's to this king and queen right here for having me on. But from that point on, the Chill and Hallie thing was on, and anything that she had, I got invited. And it was times where I didn't get invited through the regular mechanisms of my journalism thing. And so, but it was a while everybody already knew that if Hallie was in a movie and we could do it the easy way or the hard way, so I need to, to be a part of that movie premiere, that film junket. And they was like, hey, I don't know. They're not really, having, black press out for this. And I'm looking like, okay, stop playing. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. And they like, well, whatever the hard way. The next thing you know, I make a phone call. They get a call. They like, chill, that's wrong. Like, I just got a call from my boss's boss saying, what the hell is wrong with y'all? Get that man to that damn Halle Berry press junket. And so every movie Hallie did, I was there doing interviews. I've just been there hanging out with Hallie. We've been out to dinner. She invited me to be the MC. She had a New Year's Eve party at her house in Hollywood up in the hills. I was the MC for a New Year's Eve party in her backyard when she got her star on the Walk of Fame. Not only was I there, I went with her. I was in the car, which was crazy because we get out the car. It's like we arrive. It's a zillion people on the strip, and it's like they're screaming and yelling, and we jump out the limo. Hallie's mother jumps out, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's Hallie's mom!" And they taking pictures, and then Hallie's dude at the time, Gabriel Aubrey, he jumps out, and they screaming, they taking pictures of Gabriel Aubrey, and I jump out, and they get their cameras ready, they looking like, "Who the hell is that?" And they like, you know what? Whoever it is, he in the car with Hallie, take pictures, and I'm pointing. Hey, what's happening? Hey, I love your back, baby. And and what's funny, so now I'm also covering this. Now, you know, when they do the Starter Walk of Fame, you know, they get down on their knees, they put their hands, you know, on the cement where they're, but because I'm with Hallie, all the journalists are in front of her. So they're getting the money shots of her, you know, facing them, you know, putting her hands in the cement. But I'm with the family, I'm behind her. So all of my pictures of her butt, I just got pictures of Hallie's ass, you know, bending over. Now, while a lot of people did dig that shot, it wasn't pictures that I could use for the paper. They're like, "Chill, you went all the way out there, and you just got pictures of Hallie's ass bending down." I'm like, hey, it was where I was at. I was with the family. The journalists were in front of her. But big ups to HB. And when she was pregnant with her first child, she asked me, and it was during the interview, she said, "Chill, you haven't seen me since I had the baby bump." And she had like crazy security. And security must have turned his head and didn't know that we were friends. And he looks over, and I'm reaching out, putting my hand on Hallie's stomach, and the security guard looked like, "Oh, what the hell? Code red. It's some clown here touching Hallie's pregnant stomach." And he done pulled out a stun gun and a billy club, and dude I'm about to give him my 5 fingers of death move. And Hallie like, whoa, no, it's good. That's my friend. And he like, "You sure about this?" So yeah, but no, so interviewing Hallie is, you know, it's different because, you know, we're friends. But that's all. Anytime you rolling with HB, it's a different experience. I mean, I've been out to dinner with her, and it's 2 people outside when you walk in, and then you come out, and it's 5 billion people pushing and shoving and screaming, and you can't hardly get past. But that's her life. But yeah, so big ups to HB, and big ups to my sister Vinland Beckles for really being the middle person that put all of that together, reconnected me with Hallie. Because a lot of that wouldn't have happened without Vinland.
Well, last question of the night before we get to the big presentation of the night. What's next for MC Chill? What's next for Kevin MC Chill Hurd? What's next?
I have a few projects coming up next. Certainly, we're moving ahead. I'm the president. I'm honored to be the president of the Greater Cleveland Association of Black Journalists, which is the local chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists. NABJ is the largest Black journalism organization in the country. And I've been honored to succeed Harry Boomer, my big brother Harry Boomer, from WOIL 1943, the CBS affiliate. He was president of the organization for 4 years, and I served as his vice president. So I'm honored to be the president. And I told Harry at our last meeting, "Dude, you didn't tell me I was going to have to go through all this. I'll become president, and we have a the decline, the collapse of the Plain Dealer, the Cleveland's top daily metropolitan newspaper, and Black people getting fired, and we have to deal with all of that. You didn't tell me I was gonna have to deal with all of that. But you know, he's looking like, chill, you come from a rap background, bro. You built for this, King. So we're moving ahead with the organization, and I have a very excellent executive board. Shout out to Russ Mitchell. Everybody knows Russ. He's done national news, and certainly see him on as a news anchor. My sister Rhonda Crowder, Nate Page, Greg Lockhart, the legendary Leon Bibb, Sandra Bishop. They're my executive board. And look for some new journalism opportunities coming up. I'm not at liberty to talk about that right now, but we have some journalism stuff coming up and some MC Chill music. You might be hearing me back on the mic, kicking rhymes as a grown ass man.
There it is. Well, they've already saw you kick rhymes at the top of this. They know what it is. All right, people. We have the big presentation. You know, not only is MC Chill the first big MC from the CLE, but he is also the first. That's right. He is the first person that the film review hashtag TFR Podcast Live honors with a day. June 7th is not only the greatest artist of all time. I'm not debating this. Prince. It's not only Prince's birthday, but it is also at hashtag TFR Podcast Live Kevin MC Chill Heard Day. And this is the certificate. And somehow magically, as I passed it through, somehow he got it. Did you see this? Unbelievable. Let me read it, people. Certificate. This certificator is presented to Kevin MC Chill Heard for being the first MC signed to Fever Records from Cleveland, putting Cleveland, Ohio on the map as a hip-hop destination with artists to be recognized, for working to see the next generation of artists get their shot in the industry, for reporting the stories which keep the community of Cleveland, Ohio in the forefront, and for representing Cleveland well, hashtag TFR Podcast Live awards Kevin MC Chill Heard with this certificate proclaiming June 7th MC Chill Day, this 7th day of June 2020. Signature, the film review team.
Wow.
Give it
wow.
up. MC
Oh
Chill.
my goodness.
Kevin MC Chill Heard.
Wow. Hey guys, I really appreciate that, man. Coming from you all, hey man, it's an honor. And I appreciate the love and just the love and respect and the assistance that I get from you guys and the recognition. You know, I've done a few interviews. I mean, obviously I interview people, but you flipped the script on me. You flipped the script on me today, and it's not often that I give interviews. So I really appreciate the honor that you guys are giving me. It's a pleasure. It's my honor to be here. And I see you asking people questions. You show up on my show, and you help me go in on people that we tag teaming on people sometimes, hitting them from here, hitting them from there. But you put me in the box today. So, hey man, I love y'all. I appreciate it. And you guys do magnificent work, top quality work. I suggest that all of my people, follow what you guys do. And again, man, I can't thank you enough for the support. So, and you've always supported me from the early days, bro. So, as well as other Clevelanders, not just me, but thanking because big ups to Cleveland, and you've always been there for Cleveland. So, hey, we thank you and appreciate it. And you and your wife, hey, y'all guys doing this thing and representing Black love. And we need to see, couples doing this thing like this, man. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm just proud to be here.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
Man, thank you for being the one that first opened up, because you opened up Cleveland. You're the first, right? You're the first MC from Cleveland, and you opened it up, and you didn't hog it and say, it's just going to be all me. I'm going to make sure that the next generations get out there. I want to make sure that when I go in and represent something, I'm representing not only Lee and Harvard, but I'm representing the Southeast side. And I'm also representing the whole body of Cleveland. If it's Northeast, South, or West, you represent proper. And so that's why we honor you today. And we appreciate you, because the opportunities that are happening in Cleveland are happening directly through pipelines that you laid down. So we appreciate you.
Thank you, man. I can't thank you guys enough. And everybody that took time to hear my story or hear my interview, I appreciate anybody who watches it, that cares about what the hell I'm talking about. For the people that are watching it live, and for the people that watch it for the historical record, and after we do it live, hey, man, I appreciate anybody taking time to hear my story and hear what I'm talking about, and anything I can do to contribute to the culture, and specifically to Cleveland, Ohio. That's what I'm here for.
Guess what, Chill? We did it again.
What's that?
We did a whole nother 3 hours. We did 3 hours the first time we tested it. We did another 3 hours just the other day, just talking. And now we do another 3 hour show with totally different information, totally different altogether what we're talking about. And it's incredible.
People out there don't know. Every time I talk to D, it's a 3 hour conversation. He say, chill, we're just going to talk to get connectivity, to get levels. And 3 hours later, we still talking. This the third time. At least this one was for the show.
For the show.
Wow.
3 hours. Who could believe it? Well, let me say, MC Chill, this has been not only an honor, but it has been a pleasure to bring. I told you at the beginning it was going to be hashtag TFR Podcast Live presents This Is Your Life, MC Chill. And hopefully we did it justice and brought the information out that people need to see. And in closing, tell the people where they can see you, how they can connect with you, all of your social media, everything.
You can catch me for sure every Wednesday going live with Chill Talk until directly to Facebook Live on Facebook at Chill Talk to Me, the number 2, Chill Talk to Me. We should be returning back to Radio 1 pretty soon after they figure out how we can go back to back in the studio with people talking and spitting on the mic without, spreading the coronavirus. Okay. But we'll be back at some point in time up at Radio 1 on Wednesdays at 9 o'clock. But for right now, every Wednesday, you can find us going directly Facebook Live at 8 o'clock. I've been doing a Friday show at 8 o'clock. Sometimes if something else pops up, we'll just do a live show based on whatever we have. But also look for me going to my YouTube channel, doing stuff exclusively there. You can find me on Instagram at Kevin Chill Hurd, the Chillagram, and on Twitter at House of Chill. So Facebook and my regular Facebook page, Kevin, and I still have a few people I can friend. I've pretty been selective, so I haven't reached my limit yet. But you can find me on my personal MC Chill, Kevin MC Chill Hurd page, my Chill Talk radio page, my Instagram, Chillagram page, and Twitter at House of Chill. And look for some new stuff coming up from some media journalism stuff coming up soon.
All right. So that's it, people. We'd like to thank Kevin MC Chill Hurd for coming on the film review. Hashtag TFRPODCASTLIVE. We'd like to thank you for coming on. It was an honor again.
Yes.
We appreciate you.
Yep.
And I just got to say it's an honor again. And, you know, we're going to see you. I guess I'll see you on Wednesday.
Right. Right. The pleasure is mine, though, guys. Again, thanks for having me. And thanks for people who would even, you know, care to hear what I'm talking about or listen. So I appreciate you and your platform. You guys are great.
You know what? Well, we won't even touch that now because we've already concluded. We're not going to touch that. All right,
what was you about to try to start?
No. Remember, we talked about the woman in Indianapolis that happened on Sunday evening, and I was asking you to put your journalism hat on and figure out why they wouldn't. But we're not going to do that, and we're not going to touch the Beastie Boys either tonight because this is such a beautiful thing, and we're going to just move the Beastie Boys to another day. They just been bumped. Sorry, Matt Damon, you've been bumped. Maybe next time. All right, people. So, people, this has been another great episode of the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
Tracy.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society. And again, we'd like to thank Kevin Hurd, MC Chill, for being on with us. And you have been watching, officially you've been watching, the Film Review. And we'll see you next week.
The Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast. Interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on the Film Review Live channel. Subscribe.
Hi, this is Bernadette Stannis, Thelma from Good Times, and you're watching the Film Review.